Yeah,
So.
I mean, God only knows what Nate is going to say at any point.
That's true. That's true.
All right, so no, Viva is not running late. The late one is not Nick. Everybody knows that Nick is actually suffering an ailment that shan't be spoken about right now and not able to make it. But in the spirit of Nick, I have to start the grift. So I gotta
start the grift and start it late.
Start it late. How did I go from 148 watching to 91 instantly? That was weird. So
because when you went live, the notifications popped up probably.
Yeah, but I had 148 showing, and now it says 91, which is very, very weird. Now it says 79.
That is strange.
Wow. Okay, so before this runs to zero, those who are here, I started a new channel. It is called America's Untold Stories. It has a lot of content that I've done in one of my shows. I've spun it off as its own channel to give Mark Robert, my partner, part ownership of it and more stakes in it. And also all the content being there will help make it less confusing. I really, really encourage you guys to please check it out. I think you will enjoy it. I mean, we're talking inside access to the Sirhan parole hearing. You don't get that very often. Connections, his producing partner is Oliver Stone. His writing partner is Thomas Jane. He's best friends with Dr. Drew. Don't be surprised to see some of these people floating around. I can't promise who will come on or not come on, but the topics are amazing. And hell, there's over 100 people here. If you haven't done it already, I'm at 738. I'd love to see if we can break all kinds of records and get me to 1,000 within the first couple days of coming out. And I deeply appreciate it. And while we're on the grift and while we're on growth, the second big subject of the day is Nate. I think you have show and tell for us, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was very well set up there.
That's humility.
So beautiful.
Yes. No, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, I'm chill, but yes, the silver play button. Boom.
Beautiful.
Yay!
Nate the lawyer. Even though they gave me so much hell for getting it, they were like, hey, you got to check your channel out. Make sure.
So there's two people on this stream that have a silver play button.
I've been plaguing the private chat because I think someone's mic is giving some static when it's on. Does anyone hear that?
I do hear that. I hear somebody's mic is.
I'm muting.
It's like a fan on or something.
Oh, is it me? I'm gonna mute.
Yeah, it's I think somebody's got a.
Oh
yeah,
it's
true. Yeah.
It's not me.
You got a fan on.
Yeah, you're just gonna suck it
turn that fan off.
Take your jacket off, knucklehead.
I don't know what
you got a blanket on.
Eric, just to finish off Eric's grift, I just watched the first. Did I watch the first shortened version, Eric?
Yeah,
did I watch public?
It's not public. It's unless
is that better now?
The full interview is public. The good one is public.
Okay, right. So I just watched one episode or the highlights with Grobert talking about CIA infiltration of Hollywood, and I never appreciated it. Going back to the infiltration of Jackson Pollock type art in order to combat the Cold War, and then you bringing up issues about how they get the fighter jets for movies and how the military decides what movies to give authorization to and which ones not to. It's phenomenally interesting. So get Eric. I just hit my computer. To
and on the legal side, hold on, because this is you're all lawyers.
Are we?
I don't know. Yeah, I heard there's a rumor. Mark Robert was personally involved because Chase Brandon hijacked his script for The Recruit. Mark Robert wrote the script for The Recruit, the movie with Al Pacino and Colin Farrell. So that's
yeah, I love that movie.
Interesting.
And it turns out that the CIA out of Langley, literally writing the script, it went to court. In the full interview, we look at the case papers. He won the lawsuit, or we got a settlement out of the CIA because of what was going on. So just that part alone ties it right in here. He's the Forrest Gump of pop culture. He's like Robert Barnes on the pop culture side. I'm not kidding.
He goes so fast sometimes, though, that you have to go back and listen a few times.
Exactly.
It's the curse. It's the curse of knowledge. He just presumes, or not presumes. He's operating on the basis that we even have the underlying foundations on which to build the house of knowledge that he is giving us the materials for. So you got to watch it a couple times.
You have made a career out of pronouncing the H behind the W.
I will.
I was just thinking the same, like Cool Whip.
Whitmer.
Governor Whitmer.
It will never get old. I can't. It'll never get old.
We all love it.
It's pinned in the chat right now, and I think I have it in the description. Seriously, please, please, please. I'm trying to kick it over, the amount so Mark can actually get paid. We can, get ad revenue, and God only knows how long it'll take to get approved, because there's somebody on the show right now that took a half a year to get approved even after they crossed the number.
Yeah, right. Joe's not paying attention. It's fine.
No, of course not. Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm sorry. Someone was trying to help me out in chat, and I wanted to say thank you. You have to show appreciation. So,
well, it's a good thing, Eric. It's a good thing that you have the link in the chat, pinned in the chat, because I actually tried searching for it, and you're right. You mentioned this earlier that it's like impossible to find when you actually put it into search.
And I even have a hashtag with it, and the hashtag will show two of the videos. It's kind of pissing me off because YouTube will normally do it, and if you look at the results, America's Untold Stories, you search it with the apostrophe or without, it doesn't show up, and all kinds of crap does. So it's not like it's not available.
No, it's first of all, it's not.
It probably has to hit the.
Yeah, it probably has not been searched enough to even come up in the auto populate or in the algorithm. It's not as though it's being censored already because it doesn't yet have the content.
It happened to me with my name, Nate the Lawyer. It was like it wouldn't come up for like a couple of days when I was searching for it, and then when I changed my name from Nate Broady to Nate the Lawyer, because it seems like that algorithm has to figure it out, and then it comes
Speaking of censorship, have you guys noticed a downward trend in your numbers over the last couple of weeks? Because I actually was trending very strongly upward, and over the last week to 10 days, I'm not sure it's because I took a lot of time off for Jewish holidays or if it's just a new censorship algorithm thing, but I noticed that we started this with Eric saying how the stream was getting kiboshed before our very eyes, and I'm wondering if any of you have noticed similar type of issues over the last week or so.
Mine have actually been okay.
Okay.
They've been
I know my
pretty good.
content is awesome, so I can't imagine it's that. It's just I'm assuming it's my Jewish. I'm assuming it's my Jewish.
It's anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, it's either that. It's one of those. It's one of those
I've
two.
noticed over the last month, my sub increase is down to like 3,600, but I don't automatically reflexively jump to suppression in the algorithm. It's quite possible we've saturated something already, or maybe people are not as interested in Canadian stuff as Don Lemon sticking his hands down his Okay,
And you guys know my stuff is blowing up because I'm strictly women's soccer now. I'm like the formal authority on U.S. soccer.
By the way, can I don't want to step on your toes because you have such a great gig with the whole women's soccer thing. But can we just wrap up and realize that the whole women's soccer issue can be summed up as follows? It's the exact same thing as comparing the Baltimore Orioles to the Saitama Seibu Lions of the Pacific League. And I'm really serious about this because you can call that racism. That it's like, the Japanese, or that everyone is being racist against the Japanese, the same way they're calling sexism. Or you can realize that, hey, the Seibu Lions, they won the Pacific League Championship last year, and their revenues were $95 million. The Baltimore Orioles lost 107 games this year, and their revenue is $115 million. So you can say their level of success is a joke compared to what the Saitama Seibu Lions did. The same way the men's success is a joke compared to the women, but their revenues, because they're in a different league and it's a whole different, you're on a different field, literally and figuratively, that the revenues are just so different that it's stupid to even compare it. It's like comparing a bottom lawyer to the top dance performer of art type of dance, artistic dance, you can't compare industries. And even though it looks like they're playing the same sport, because the leagues are so totally different, same way you wouldn't call racism by comparing Japanese baseball to American baseball and say the worst American team is going to make more than the best Japanese team. You can't call it sexism when men's leagues are making so much more money than women's leagues. And that's just reality of life. And you can whine about it, but it's just reality.
Listening to
Ronda
you
Rousey.
explain it, Joe. Yeah, listening to Joe explain it makes me think you're a sexist, Joe. Makes me think you're if they're going to say. Joe is sexist, right?
Nate,
and that's why that's why U.S. Soccer. Probably like after this, I'm going to finish editing it. Because I found a nice little clip to start at the beginning. But it's going to be a good video. So what U.S. Soccer was using that argument, they said that they were sexist monsters for saying it. The simple fact is, I think Eric's actually argument, I think is honestly the best argument you can make. And Eric said it there on our stream. He said COVID destroyed the women's argument. COVID-19 destroyed the whole women's argument in terms of equal pay. And I'll let Eric explain it since it's what he came up with.
Okay,
but it's fantastic because you can't get over it.
Well, it's an external force that pointed out all the flaws in the theory that you wouldn't see. I mean, if you did not have COVID-19, it would be a lot muddier. That, okay, well, the men are getting more money because there's this bonus or whatever, and the women's salaries are lower. The men are getting more, even though they're not as talented, quote unquote. Even though if you read Nate's comments, there are some things in there about Dallas sub-15 soccer team doing very well against the women. But anyway, that COVID comes along, and then all of a sudden the men made zero money. So whatever way you look at it, they got paid less. How do you argue it?
The women made $100K each, right?
That's right. The men made
during COVID.
And they had a guaranteed salary.
Yep.
I don't want to spoil what Nate and I revealed and discussed in the video that he's going to publish today, but there will be a response to that, Eric, that there is hypothetically an answer that whatever they didn't get paid last year, the argument will be they got paid so much more in the previous years, amortize it to explain it away. But
that may be, but you could still try to keep making the argument, whatever. It still holds down. It's year to year. My thought was split the leagues up. You got the women, you got the men. Just do your own thing. You figure it out.
Yeah, it is not always the case that there's a distinct difference between who will watch men's sports versus women's sports. I don't know. I think the Serena sisters drew large numbers for tennis.
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey drew.
She was the biggest one, yeah.
So she and McGregor were like this, sometimes she was ahead of McGregor or back and forth. If people pay, they get paid. That's the bottom line. And it's not a factor of, oh, you're not getting this, but there are different levels of performance. There's the performance athletically in the sport, but there's also the performance financially of what your draw is. Many people would say that there are millions of bands better than the Rolling Stones. But
yeah,
the Rolling Stones are one of the top bands in the world. So does that mean that the Rolling Stones, we should shrink their ticket prices because they're not as talented as, say, Mark Knopfler and the Dire Straits or something? No, and I think they would agree. It's not a
Dire Straits you're comparing to the Rolling Stones? Blasphemy.
Mark Knopfler could play the hell out. Brian Jones is the best guitarist the Rolling Stones had, and he died at 27. By the way, leads to the grift. I'll be releasing a short that Mark Robert put together with VH1 Confidential about the, shall we say, controversy behind the Brian Jones death. So
nice.
Hit
nice
that
tie
link
in there.
Up above. Well, look, there's 318 people here. I am trying to get to just 1,000 on this stream. We're at 768, 321 watching. Somehow the math can work out.
I subscribe.
Come on, people.
Yes. This will be amazing.
And ring the bell. Ring the bell too. That bell ring is important. If you don't ring the bell, you don't
get notifications.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and
but you know what? But the one thing,
one of the best. Sorry, go on.
But the one thing I think that's going on nowadays is if you can't beat them, scream they're racist, sexist, or in some ways discriminate against us, right? That seems to be the plan here, right? It's just like, and it's with everything. I'm finding it to be with everything. It's like, I can't do this. Oh, you're a racist. You're a It's like, what? No. That where did that even come from? But it's such an easy sell, and it's so easy to get behind because we all have an inherent thing where we want to see everything as and everyone is being treated fairly. And when it seems like someone's being treated unfairly, we want to come to your defense without looking at the underlying situation. And I think a lot of the situations that we have now, the left has found it to be, it's a nice way to weaponize emotions. And that's all it really is weaponizing our emotions so for political purposes. You know, it's sad, but that's the world we live in now. And go ahead.
And that's why I'm always so skeptical of any kind of like viral social media hashtag that is emotional in nature, because it's just too easy to manipulate. So, yeah.
But listen, believe all media. As Viva says, believe all media.
Yeah,
see, that's why he muted himself. Believe all media.
Prime Minister came out and during the election, if you oppose anything on the lockdown, you're what did he say? Misogynist, racist. I mean, he literally said that the people who are opposing the COVID measures, not using any words, are spewing out misogynist, racist, hateful messages. I mean, it's the reflex when there's no response. It's just that.
All right.
No, but you know what? It's the. Go ahead, Eric.
No, you go ahead. Finish out.
No, I was gonna mention the whole thing about the COVID stuff, because I had a video in a can, and what I did was I found all of the times that the doctor whose name starts with an F and ends with an ouch. He said his name. Okay, so Fauci's
we gotta put a proper title, Saint Fauci.
All right, Saint Fauci. So I went back and I showed Eric and Viva this too. So I went back and I was getting all the clips of Fauci's, going back and forth with the whole mask thing. So first he said asymptomatic spread. This is Fauci. First, Fauci says asymptomatic spread for a virus is like nonsense, right? Anybody who thinks that asymptomatic spread is a problem doesn't know what they're talking about, and there's no virus in the history of mankind, right? Wasn't it something like that, Viva? No virus in the history of mankind where asymptomatic spread caused any type of problem.
Well, we talked about that
a month later,
our little debate, and
it was like, okay, but then think about this, people. I have another 15 times where they say yes, they say no. They say yes, they say no, they say yes, even up to like 2 months ago, where they had said, well, people who have been inoculated don't have to wear masks. Then the next month they said they do have to wear masks. Then the next month they say they don't have to wear masks, and now we're back to wearing masks. So when people say that they don't have confidence in the messaging, that's because the messaging changes so dramatically from month to month to month. But I'm afraid to post the video because I'm afraid YouTube is going to kill me.
This is in the chat. You don't have to read it out loud, but I think it's a very salient point there. Private emails. What was he saying to his friends and his peers in emails? That's very, very important too.
And I mean, it is always possible that the recommendation changes when you have more information, right? I mean, that's just like, with any kind of a developing case, you have more evidence comes out and your opinion of it changes based on the evidence. That's what should happen if new evidence comes out that, rightfully should be paid attention to, and that would change a reasonable person's opinion. The problem is with the messaging is that the changes in those opinions have not been the most logical. And especially because the very first message was nobody needs to wear a mask. No one needs to wear a mask. They don't do anything. They don't help. And then they're like, oh, we only said that because we didn't want to have a run on the masks because the people in the hospitals were the ones that needed them the most. They should have just said that, So starting from that, when they were like, yeah, the very first message we gave you was a lie. we're happy to tell you that now.
So,
but don't worry, we're not lying.
Hold on. On that point that Legal Bytes just made, I'm going to play a video from factcheck.org. Now, this is the place where everybody goes, where all the places go to fact check. What Alita said is 100% true. Fauci even said that. But I want you guys to play this video from factcheck.org and listen to the supposedly fact checkers spin it. And it's an outright lie from factcheck.org.
Well,
but they're going to spin it in a video.
Reading Eldon's chat.
This video's on YouTube.
Eldon Bannerling's chat. We may want to switch topics out of an abundance of precaution. Not that we're going to add anything new to this discussion,
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, on that note, David, hang on, everybody. It's that time.
Oh yeah.
They're getting slower.
It's
They're getting slower.
No, but the thing is, the stream that I just did with Robert and his brother got temporarily demonetized and then confirmed on manual review. You have to just be on a radar, Eric. There's nothing else that makes sense about it.
Thus, I have a new channel, folks. So, if you and help us survive this, because I got to tell you, I did the first episode last night as a live stream on the new channel, and I did it on my channel. Right? Guess what? It's yellow. I did a stream earlier this morning. It was about Scientology. Somebody who broke away from Scientology is against it. Guess what? It's yellow. Yeah. I'm doing this stream now. It's yellow. So I'm
every single one of mine too. So every one of mine. As soon as I finish streaming, I go and check. I'm like, oh, it's yellow. Let's contest that. And every single time, except for once, every time that they've done a manual review, they're like, oh, oops, our bad.
No. I was going to tweet this out the other day and get the photo evidence. Ron Paul's channel was taken down because of severe and repeated violations, even though he says he's never gotten any strikes. I've got, when you get the review and they say, oh, self-review, you've been good for the last few videos. Like a month ago, they said, oh, you rated a few videos recently wrong. They went back 3 months and found 2 videos that one was not even confirmed demonetized after manual review. I never asked. Since then, YouTube has literally demonetized and remonetized at the very least 20. And when I go back, I have 100 pages of correct reviewed, but they take the 1 or 2 for whatever reason. But what I was going to say about that is it's bull plop. You're on a list, and you can call it the golden shower list, Eric, because you seem to be getting. Does that mean something bad?
I have never had a.
I don't know, unless you're talking about R. Kelly, which I guess brings you to legal.
I have never had a single live stream ever that has not gone yellow. Ever. Not one. I could talk about a legal fight about Joe Pepitone's baseball, about the 500 Joe Pepitone trying to get Mickey Mantle's 500 home run bat, and I could spend an entire stream doing that, and and they'll put me in the yellow. It doesn't matter.
Could be Eva. Somebody could be. I mean, I've got a couple dedicated trolls that come out.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, I started noticing first all my videos were good. Then all of a sudden, when I started mentioning when I started getting a little more right leaning, then all of a sudden one day I went back and videos that I had monetized, right? Videos that I knew I'm not even going to monetize these police breakdown videos. Each one of those videos had been manually reviewed. And I'm like, hold on, why are you manually reviewing a video that I didn't even ask to be monetized? And then I was like, okay. So now I know I'm being watched here. People are saying, somebody's saying, hey, this guy's videos need to be, and then it was like, I think some of them were age restricted. Some of them were like, okay, we're going to yellow this one just in case. It was crazy. So they do. And when you're on that list for a little while, for maybe like 4 or 5 months, everything I did was yellow. So I had to wait. Like whenever I uploaded, as soon as I did, it turned yellow, and then I had to wait for like a day or two for it to turn. My Breonna Taylor video was one of those videos where it was yellow, and then it went green, and then it blew up. Thank God it blew up after it turned green. But yeah, so they do that. If you're on that list, if you're on that list, it's going to be like that for a while.
It's a giant pain though, because honestly, like I do live streams. That's what I do, live streams. So I'm getting slammed while the vast majority of my views are coming in. By the time they approve it, I'm done. So anybody who's doing, like the pre-made videos or what have you, at least you can upload it and then wait for 24 hours before making it public and hopefully go through the whole gambit before they take it down. But for live streams, it's like, 92, 95% of my views are within the first 24 hours. And coincidentally, after those run up, YouTube will send me the email saying, congratulations, we found that your content is suitable for all advertisers. Thank you very much. So at least I have a great meme from Tape Damage. Hopefully they
suck out all those fresh views from you, and then throw it up after you lose the first, because that's when you need it to be monetized. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the beginning.
Right.
Yep. And it's soul crushing. And by the way, I don't know where Uncivil Law is. He was sent a link.
You know, he competed with me last night, and I called, and someone pointed out to me that during my stream that Uncivil Law was going on, and I actually said, "Look, I love you, brother. I love you, but I'm taking it down this stream." So because I'm providing, like, last night I actually had really
and then Joe reported Kurt.
Honestly,
so are you saying that first you gave Nick the coop, and now you're taking out on? So what are you?
I actually was trying to help him out. I was supposed to go on his show last. I was supposed to be on his show last night if he was going to go. In fact, during my stream, I was even asking him if he was going to be going, and I said I'll cut out and switch over to you as soon if you're ready to go. And at first he was like, "Yeah, let's do it," and then he's like, "I got weird chills. This thing is weird," and that's the last I've heard from him. I'm hoping he's okay. But there was a phenomenal video that one of his subs made that I shared during my stream. You can share on Twitter, so you don't have to worry about it. But let me pull it up here for you because
speaking of which, Nate shared a video here. Did you want this to come up, Nate?
But it was about what Legal Bytes said about Fauci and how he said the thing earlier, and this was the defense of it. So I don't know. It's interesting how they massage it. But this is from factcheck.org. So this is fully monetized on YouTube. YouTube
Nate
loves
does
this video, but
yes, NateTheLawyer.locals.com, Eldon.
Yes.
Oh, and
but if you play it, but if you play the video, I don't think should be a problem because it's factcheck.org and it's a good video for COVID. But play it and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, you gotta hit it.
Now hold on, but before you hit play, remember
I can't.
The reason why Fauci oh yeah, it's on me. But remember, yes, I forgot. I'm like, before you play, remember the reason why Fauci said that to not wear masks was because he was afraid. At this point in time, he did believe masks worked, but he said he told people not to get masks. They was telling people not to get masks because he didn't want to run in the hospital. So there was no change of information. There was no change of the science. The science was still the same. It was the reasons why. So I'm going to play it now, and you'll hear.
This is dangerous territory, gentlemen.
Recommendations. In March 2020, Dr. Anthony Fauci was one thought to be flat. The body was one thought to be governed by 4 humors. In the case of a new virus, new insights produce changed recommendations.
New
in
insights.
March 2020, Dr. Anthony Fauci told 60 Minutes.
The masks are important for someone who's infected to prevent them from infecting someone else. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
But on April 3rd, the CDC said, CDC recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings where other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. And CDC also advises the use of simple cloth face coverings to slow the spread of the virus and help people who may have the virus and do not know it from transmitting it to others. The guidance changed because scientists were learning that those experiencing no symptoms could still transmit the coronavirus.
Lies!
By April, scientists were more confident that a person who was showing no symptoms could be infected and spread the virus to others. What science knew was updated with the accumulating evidence about transmission from people without symptoms.
Lies!
So when someone in your social circle says that Dr. Fauci should not be trusted because he once said people should not be walking around with masks, remind them of this. That recommendation referred to those who weren't sick. And it was made at a time when the scientific evidence on transmission from people without symptoms was still accumulating.
Now that's fact checking. Now we know that video was propaganda because we know Fauci himself said the science didn't change. It was just because he didn't want to run in the mask. But now YouTube would allow a disinformation. That's a disinformation video. That video is disinformation. It's from Fauci. But they would rather put that video up and let that video be fully monetized than a video of Fauci himself saying, "Well, yeah, I was saying it for a different reason not because the science changed, but because we didn't want to run on the mask." So the science of it, but here they've changed it. Go ahead. Sorry.
So while I'm at risk from the new silver button, he sent something else in the chat.
I don't know if I've got the coup. We had a known COVID exposure.
These are his fans.
I have been battling an illness, and I've been in bed for the better part of the last 2 days. And I just sucked down a fifth of Dayquil. And now I don't know what to believe
so
about
tired.
anything.
Poor Mac, yeah.
I mean, it's not the worst I've ever felt.
It's so evil. It's so evil. These are his fans. They're his fans. They put this up.
But where is this video from? I want to know context.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. When I go, I want this though.
I got the coup.
Does it?
You're welcome. This is what I bring. This is what people send me.
Good.
This is why everyone is here. By the way, we're up to 482. Help me on the grift here. Reminder of Nick. Go on over. Hit that subscribe. Hit that channel. We're only at 785. Come on.
Put the link in the private chat so I can spam the comment section.
It's there. It's in the private chat.
Well, it's also it's the pinned comment or the pinned chat, but
no, I'm talking about the
the
pinned comment. Yeah, the pinned comment.
But here you go. It's in private chat too.
Got it.
Well, I won't tell you how many channels I have, Eric, or how many separate handles I have, but I'm gonna go use them. I had so many ideas for good YouTube channels. I had one called "What Are We Looking At," and it was just going to be a zoom up of something, and you have to guess what it was, and then as you back out, it became clear. Except whenever I did it, it always had to be a dirty thing, like chicken legs that looked like a butt crack, or a flower. So I eventually stopped. Well,
you know what? With the new iPhone that just came out, there's a macro camera, and you can have all kinds of fun with that.
Which new camera has a macro camera?
The new iPhone.
Son of a beast.
The new iPhone has a new macro camera that you can pick up from 2 centimeters.
Oh my goodness!
It takes the ultra wide lens, and I mean, and you know why I'm so excited about it is because I'm the jerk who's always trying to read a serial number and dying. So to have a macro camera that can get up there and get that stupid serial number, it's like, You see, David, he's artistic. I'm just a nerd.
I'll start a pimple popping channel if I have that macro lens. I will.
No!
Oh yes! Pimple popping is very popular these days. I don't know if anybody's aware of that.
Yes.
If you do it, watch your stats. You should do that, and just to run the experiment, I bet you're going to have like 85-90% female audience.
Joe is legitimately horrified.
I need new friends.
You gotta check out
thinking about Fauci juice.
No, you gotta go check out. If nobody knows of this channel. He doesn't make new content. It's the Gambian the Gambian vet, and all he did was mango worms extractions from dogs in the Gambia. And oh my god, it's
you're the Canadian of us. You're the Canadian. You're not supposed to be grossing us out.
Let me go find the channel, and I'll link it in the chat.
Why not? We're already in trouble. I already asked for manual review, so it's getting uglier.
They're already watching.
Oh my god. Well, this is, you know what this Friday stream should be called? Viva Discovers.
Oh, well, I knew what the golden shower was. Zence, that was a deliberate joke, but the other stuff, no idea.
Oh my god! Here we go. Confirmation. Eva would watch the zip popping channel.
If no one has discovered it yet, there's nothing wrong with it. I've spoken to people. Apparently, it's very natural for humans to be interested in what comes out of a human body or a dog body, for that matter. Bot fly removals, people. Will blow your mind. It's
yes, it would. That's one word for it.
Now, on a separate note, Alita, what is the update on Britney Spears? Speaking of which, because
just a fly removal.
I am so glad you asked.
Hey, hold on. I got an update from Kurt. He should be here in 5 minutes.
Okay, good.
He thought the stream was at 1 o'clock. He thought it was at 1 o'clock.
That's a real Ricketta move. That's a real Nick move right there.
Yeah, Eric said, "Yeah, be there at 1 o'clock. Be there at 1 o'clock."
By the way, you know what this is telling you? He just revealed something.
He's not getting notifications,
and he's not subscribed. Betcha.
Oh,
Because I guarantee you'll be like, Pop, what? Wait. Oh, I should be seeing that.
No, that's if he didn't ring the bell, because he could be subscribed, but if you don't ring the bell, you might not get the notification. So he hasn't rung the bell.
That could be. That could be.
does anyone else hear an echo by any chance?
Yes. It's probably Joe
Okay.
again.
What? I didn't
It's always
change
Joe.
anything.
No,
I hear nothing.
unless you had headphones. Does somebody not have headphones on?
I do not
Oh,
have
now it's
headphones, but
better.
it's not me.
Okay. I think I don't hear it anymore.
Because he went mute. Because he went mute.
There you go. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, and it happens to you all the time, David, because I'll be watching you in Barnes and all of a sudden hear Barnes echoing out of yours. So, yeah, someday we're going to break down. You can get Bluetooth, you know that. I know you're a handsome fellow and all.
Bluetooth. I do not trust Bluetooth. I had a client who told me not to trust Bluetooth. I'm going to look for some. Oh, there's a jack right there. I'll be back in a second.
Oh.
Hold on.
Whoa.
Okay.
There's the man.
Somebody's doing the Nick Ricada.
Oh, hey,
I
Kurt.
told you this was 3 o'clock, Kurt. 3 o'clock. You're early.
Wah, wah, wah.
Bom, 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 bom.
Well, don't I feel like a jerk?
It's okay. We haven't really talked about much substantive law, to be honest.
Well, we're
Yay.
talking about David's new pimple popping channel.
Yes.
There's a pimple popping
Yeah.
channel.
He's talking about starting it, and I pointed out that there's a new macro camera in the iPhone, and maybe it's
There's a whole
coming soon.
there's a whole subreddit for that.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. And as I told him, look at the YouTube stats, and I guarantee if he rolls it, it'd be like 85 to 90% female. The stats will
There's
be
a show
through
on-
the roof.
There's a show called
Yeah, there's Dr. Pimple Popper. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Pimple
Yeah.
Popper.
You know, it's she got her start a lot through that subreddit in no small part because it's a little bit like Justin Bieber in some ways, where he got his fame from social media before he got signed on. So Dr. Pimple Popper was the same way. She got really noticed on Reddit. That's where she really popped, and she got a whole TV contract out of it. The fact that I know all this, but yeah.
We
Right.
also
I like
Golden
the
Showers
pop
came up.
reference. Yeah.
So speaking of pop, Britney Spears.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a really good transition there.
Professional
Thank
segment.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well played.
So there was big news this week for Team Free Britney. There was a hearing on the 29th, which was Wednesday. And so now officially effective immediately that day, Jamie Spears is no longer involved in the conservatorship.
Out.
Huge win.
Wow.
I think a lot of people, so even for, we've talked about this before, that there's two separate questions that were here, right? There was the question of whether Jamie should still be the conservator, and then there's a question of whether the conservatorship should exist at all. And there's a lot more evidence to be able to analyze that first question than there is the second one, because there's medical information that's not made public and all that kind of stuff.
They're Cots Porta Pros, by the way. These are the best headphones on the market. Sorry. And get to the
Nice.
part where they're going to sue her dad if he did anything
Oh
wrong.
yes. So this was really like the underlying fight here was, so if you remember, first they filed, so Rosengart, Britney's attorney, filed to have Jamie removed as the conservator, and effective immediately. Then Jamie's attorneys filed a petition to just terminate the conservatorship immediately. And remember, that was just everyone that read that petition was like, there's something off about this. This doesn't feel like a good faith argument. This doesn't feel like, this is such a 180 argument, and the arguments in it are not very strong. And it seems like there's just this weird attitude that's in there, about if you think that you can go off and drive by yourself, then yeah, maybe you should be free to make your own decisions or something. And so anyway, but basically it turns out that this seems to have been the real thing that both of them were really fighting about, which was the records that will have to be handed over to the new conservator, because, and including the conversations between Jamie Spears and his counsel. So, normally Kurt and Nate were on my channel yesterday and we were talking about this. Attorney-client privilege, is normally a very, very, very ironclad privilege for any client, and it's always the client that owns it. So the client can waive that, but the lawyer can't in the relationship. So, but in this particular case, Jamie's attorneys were representing him in his capacity as the conservator, so not personally. So now it's almost like you could say that he's wearing armor, and that armor is the armor of the conservator. He now has to take that off and put it on the next person, and all of those benefits that he had go with that armor to the next person. So that means all of those conversations, all of that information is going to be shifted right over to this person that was recommended by Britney's attorney. So they've already started to talk about how they wanted to. They already started to talk about how they wanted to sue Jamie for all kinds of, like, I don't know, fraud and I don't know about embezzlement, but those kinds of charges, basically over the funds that he was using and that he was taking from the conservatorship, paying himself, paying for certain fees. And so there's going to be a very big fight now to get a lot of those fees back. So long story short, big win.
Amazing. Another case that got settled this week or whatever. Brings us back to the golden showers, R. Kelly. And Joe, apparently the person you didn't know, America's Dad, thought that R. Kelly was railroaded. Now, do you want to tell us who America's Dad is, Joe?
Can you say his name yet?
I think that was a cartoon. Yeah. So apparently you're going to keep dogging me about the fact that 40 years after the Cosby Show is off the air, I don't still refer to him as America's Dad. But
yes, I will.
Yeah. So that is apparently the now freed and at least criminally exonerated Bill Cosby.
For those of us who don't know the details of R. Kelly, like, I only heard the story briefly, and I don't know the details. In the euphemisms that will not get Eric in trouble, what was he alleged to have done? Because, like, I only heard the overview, I never got into it, and then the next thing I hear is he's convicted on very, like, the most serious charge.
Some of the charges are. It's weird because the charge technically falls in, but he apparently liked, shall we say, more youthfully oriented partners. I think that's the best way I could put it. Or what is it? Oh, I had another guest on, Andrew Gold, who called it minor attracted individuals.
Yes. Persons, maps. They're actually called maps.
I think they call themselves that these days.
Yeah.
Minor. Oh my God, it's actually a term. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it is actually a term.
Well, now I'm wondering about that email where he left a map on a napkin. No, that's what's his name? Okay, this I'm just going to get you in more and more trouble. Kurt, you know what's going on in this file, and I say that just because you chimed in.
Well, the short version is he's transporting people below the age of 18 across state lines for prurient purposes, which is a violation of the Mann Act. You can't do that. And then we got some RICO because basically he formed the corrupt organization within himself to accomplish all this, right? He got a whole bunch of people in to help assist him in doing that, became a corrupt enterprise, so we got some RICO on top of it. Also, he was acquitted of a possession of photographs related to that, but those were the charges in short.
And that Mann Act is the same thing they got Jack Johnson for, the famous boxer, right?
Yeah, Jack
also,
Johnson.
Jared Fogle of more recent memory.
Yeah.
I think Bill Cosby was making the Mann Act Association because of the whole the racism that was around Jack Johnson. Because Jack Johnson, obviously, when he won the world championship, they just wanted to get him on something, and he was actually married to the woman he was taking across state lines to have sex with. So that's what they're trying to hold on to. And Trump, Trump pardoned Jack Johnson post mortem. So
that's true. But if I was on R. Kelly's defense team, I would say, Bill, love you, man. Please stay in your house.
You're not helping.
Shut up.
Stay in your lane.
Because next you'll have Jared
Stay
Fogle
in your
talking
lane.
for him. It's like, please do not speak on my behalf. Please.
He'll get OJ tweeting about his innocence. That'll
That'll be good.
People.
Yeah, that'll be real good.
But that makes me think of Norm Macdonald when you say OJ. Remember that joke from Norm Macdonald?
Which one?
He told a whole bunch of OJ jokes.
I was going to say.
Well, the one when he talked
third of
about
his material was OJ.
how he said that he would stand between her and anybody in the world who's attacking. He goes, man, that's some really horrible luck that the only person who would fight off anybody is the one who killed you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, where OJ said he would die for Nicole. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. The person who'll die for you will kill you. That's the problem. Yeah, that's a good joke.
So, and by the way, rest in peace. I'm going to keep Norm jokes alive as much as I can because I mean, the dude.
So
is a legend.
he's going to jail for some version of long and forever. He's facing charges that cumulatively would, definitely keep him in jail till he dies. So his prospect. I mean, he hasn't been sentenced yet, but his prospects of a sentence that will let him see the light of day. They're not horrible, but he'd probably be old. And also, he's still facing other charges from Illinois, isn't it? So he's not out of the woods yet.
But
I think we
go for it.
No, I was just saying. I think it's so interesting because on one end, I think the movement, the Me Too movement, has had some really good successes. I think Bill Cosby, for instance, 30, 40 women. R. Kelly was doing this for years.
Weinstein.
Weinstein. I remember when I was
Cosby.
a kid, I saw the video, and I saw the R. Kelly video. I remember it was going around, the VHS tape of him having relations with the minor. That was it was. So think about this. This guy's been getting away with this for like 20 years or something like that. So it's good to see this kind of reckoning. But I just feel, it's that justice delayed is justice denied, because for all those people who this has happened to, from Michael Jackson to, it seemed like these celebrities, we just, for some reason, wanted to give a pass when it came to these type of allegations. But now I think, the truth is finally out there. But then, the pendulum swings the other way, where now, hey, he looked at me wrong, and now you're being, investigated for murder. It's like, that's not the same thing as OJ, but.
You also have the issue of scope. Matt Damon saying or questioning differences between Louis C.K., for example, and Cosby. They're completely, it's like one is kind of scummy and the other is a monster. And we've got to have a degree of reason. And I think that instead of just automatic cancellation of everything or whatever, you've got to kind of go, okay, that person's bad. They've been prosecuted. Or, okay, what are your thoughts about the Olympic fencer? The one who, everybody is so angry that he was even allowed to participate in the Olympics. But meanwhile, they put him on the other side. He had to drive many miles to get in to compete and everything else. He has not been charged. He has not been convicted. And it's like, until that comes up, and I mean specifically the conviction, why? I'm over it. It's like either you charge him or you don't. And you convict them or you don't, but they should be free until that point.
He had apparently. So there were allegations that he had harassed or maybe assaulted one or more of the female players on the fencing team, and I think one of them was an ex-girlfriend or something. I remember hearing about that, and to me, the considering the fact that they were investigating, like the U.S. Olympic team was investigating, and they hadn't, figured out a result yet. So, while there's in some form of an investigation going on, just like in any kind of an employment setting, if there's some kind of a claim like that, what you do is you separate the two parties. You don't retaliate against either one, but you separate
non-punitively.
Right, exactly, and then you investigate. So, I understand him still being able to go, saying, sorry, you've got to be away from everybody else. That's just the way that it is. But saying you can still compete. I'm perfectly fine with that personally. But, I mean, the idea that he had to be so far away, I don't know.
You could argue the same way going the other direction. And that's my problem with it. It's like, if he did it, and he's convicted or whatever, then obviously he shouldn't be there. But until that point, and this is the Olympics for God's sake, I'd say it happens every 4 years, but in this case, 5. It was already delayed. Yeah, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. You just come back next time. Are you high?
Yeah, really.
They're training their whole life for this particular moment.
Yeah.
To even qualify people. I don't think people completely comprehend or understand the amount of effort, fortitude, and everything else it is to qualify. And then you say, oh, well, fine, you just keep them away in 50 miles. Well, you know what? That 50 miles could be hour less sleep. And an hour less sleep when you're in the top athletes in the entire world, we're talking about people who are winning things by hundreds of seconds. It is a very, very tight. I mean, they're so far on the pointy end of the stick. And if you don't believe me, go running. And go compare the difference between the top athletes in the world, and we're talking, they're running for 26.2 miles, and they're separated at the end by 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Do the math and tell me if sleeping in an hour might make a difference.
But also too, I think you had to have some happy median, because I'm not sure. I don't know what the allegations were, but if the allegations are, he blanked 20 people and he wasn't convicted, but if he murdered somebody and he's got blood, they caught him with blood and he's out on bail and he hasn't been convicted, I would suspect, I'd be like, well, okay, let's true, he's not convicted as of yet, but let's be reasonable here and understand,
and that brings us back to
be reasonable to each person, because and that's what I'm talking about. I don't know what the degree is, but just to say we shouldn't, that's the Larry Nassar, right? And Larry Nassar. Well, he was just accused, but then we let him continue to work for the next 10 years, and it's like, oh well, but he was just accused. I think at a point when you start getting allegations, you better say, well, hold on, let's separate. Maybe something like that, or separate, but. To just say we shouldn't do anything, I don't think that's reasonable in that type of, because they didn't do anything with Larry Nassar, and you see how monstrous things came out of that.
Well, the issue is that there seems to be cases where it's a well-known secret, and Harvey Weinstein was one. R. Kelly seems to be another. I didn't know who R. Kelly was. Literally, I always thought it was R. Kelly, and I had no idea who it was. And then I know that he sings that song, I Believe I Can Fly, which nobody's allowed singing anymore. But it seems like R. Kelly was one of the best known secrets as well. Larry Nassar, the fencing, it depends on what you're into. But Nate, I mean, what was the videos that everybody knew that R. Kelly was doing this and nobody did anything until? Oh no,
it was Chappelle. He played on Chappelle. All right, he even married a teenager. R. Kelly married a teenager, Aaliyah, who was another pop star. So it wasn't to say it was a secret. Would be like saying I'm a black man. That's a secret. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knew what was going on, right?
Are you sure?
Well, R. Kelly was a tape. He was on tape. They played the tape. The tape was like that tape sold more than some movies were selling. So it was one of those things where I think, and people just have to accept this. It was accepted in the community. The community accepted R. Kelly's interest, and him doing this type of stuff. And I think to a certain extent, it was because of his celebrity. I think at a point now, people say, well, no, we don't accept this. And now he has to pay for it. But that's 20 years later.
Well, same thing with Harvey Weinstein. That was an open secret too, right? I mean, people were literally making jokes about it at award ceremonies.
I think you're all asking a lot from a society which has displayed a very poor ability to come up with appropriate yardsticks for levels of wrong. I mean, let's look at it this way. As I think Viva mentioned in his Don Lemon video, Cuomo gets removed for inappropriately making suggestive comments or touchings, which are all gross and disgusting. And yet no one cared at all about the fact that he was almost certainly likely the cause of death of tens of thousands, many thousands of elderly patients. Why is that? Because you're dealing with a left here which doesn't have any type of normal morality yardsticks to sort of figure out what's really wrong, what's slightly wrong, what's really wrong, and what's just unforgivable. They just have their own made up yardsticks. And now you're coming along and you're saying that they're supposed to distinguish between this type of thing, or someone touching himself, versus someone on a casting couch, versus someone who's a date rapist. They can't figure out distinctions between between someone touching, someone slapping someone on the butt and murdering someone. And now you think that this group is going to be able to sit there and come up with appropriate yardsticks between CK and Bill Cosby? I don't see it.
It seems to me that the law solved that problem a long time ago. We have different degrees of murder, and then manslaughter, and
even different
degrees
charges,
of sexual assault, and different degrees.
Yeah, but that's not the court of public opinion, though.
I know, but I was just trying to say. It seems like the law solved this problem, and so like the court of law is struggling with it.
It would be great if we could use that, right?
Well, just defer. How we defer?
How do we know how bad it is? Oh, it's right here in the statute. Oh, that helps a lot.
Yeah, Well, I disagree with Joe on the sense of he said, trying to coach it to the left. The right does it just as much as the left,
True.
And to the same extent. For instance, right? Like how it was so annoying seeing some of my right-leaning, Trump-supporting New York friends here in New York, people who I hang out with, so appalled at Cuomo. Oh, Cuomo is so horrible. Oh, can you believe he said this to this woman? And then when I pull out the news article, well, here's the 26 allegations against Trump for about sexual assault and blah, 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 blah. And here are all the women showing their face. And they're like, well, I'm going to tell you, Nate, there's a little difference there. So I'm saying, so the 8 here, and what about and I'll say the same thing with the people on the left. I go to the people on the left. Trump is so horrible. Oh, but what about these for Joe Biden? Here's this woman who's on camera who's saying this happened. Well, you see, there's something. There's no difference. Everyone, if it's my guy, if it's my guy, I have excuses for all 26. And if it's your guy, he's despicable if it has one. It's the same. And this just trying to coach it. The left does it versus the right do it. We all do it because we want to believe that our guy is good and your guy is the worst when it's not true. They are both bad. They are both the worst.
Viva, one second. Let me just respond to that before you come in.
Rebuttal.
I agree with you. I agree with you that with respect to when the right engages in it, that there are certain elements on the right, not everyone on the right, but there's certain elements on the right who will do that. But the left is the one who is constantly shrieking about this conduct, that conduct, this conduct, that conduct. So it's a far louder scream that you hear from them about ridiculous levels of nuance. And that's why perhaps I projected it being on the left. You're right, on a one-to-one basis, there are plenty of people on the right who do that. But it happens so much more frequently on the left because that's what they do.
Joe,
I think right now that's the case. That hasn't always been the case.
Amplified.
Though.
Okay,
that's true.
They have all the resources that just will echo that message. But I'd say it's the same number coming out.
I'd say, to Nate's point, the only distinction between the Trump accusations and the Cuomo accusations, I was not skeptical, but rather I deal with it litigiously or legally when the accusations come out. It was Cuomo's apology and Cuomo's explanation that put me over the edge. Oh yeah, I kiss a bunch of people on the mouth. Oh yeah, I often touch. I'm Italian. So that was where I went from benefit of the doubt to guilty as hell and you're a disgusting pervert. Whereas Trump always denied it. With Biden and others on, I don't think it's a political issue. When they don't apply the rules to themselves that they have applied to others, that's when it becomes hypocritical. When Trump says, or anyone else says, reasonable doubt, benefit of the doubt, and due process, that's fine. But when they say believe all accusers, and then Don Lemon is the one getting accused now, well, now I don't want to apply my own rules to me.
Right.
That's when it steps into hypocrisy. But the interesting, from a Canadian perspective, I've always noticed this from the States, is you guys have an aversion to sex, but a tolerance for violence, and I think it explains a lot.
A joy.
Oh,
yeah, for violence.
So killing, being responsible for killing thousands of old people.
Yeah,
it's a shoot 'em up movie, but touch someone's butt.
It was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, everybody dies.
It's because in Canada, like, we used to have this thing called Bleu Nuit, which Bleu Nuit is literally like it's blue night, but it's porno, and there used to be porno on television just so long as it was after 11 o'clock at night. It was softcore.
That French influence.
If I wish,
French, yeah.
But it's no joke. It's the French influence, and in Europe, sex, they don't care about sex. Violence, they're a little bit more sensitive to, but the French still make some disgustingly violent movies.
In general, if you think about it, sex is going to result in another life versus violence, which will take away a life.
That doesn't make it sound any better.
Well, but also, I mean, I really think it comes back to our American puritanical roots, right? So it's like when I think of American culture, I think of this dichotomy between the Puritan and the frontiersman. And so, give
Jamestown and
either political political party can be the frontiersman or the Puritan at various points in time. Right now, it seems like the Democrats are much more puritanical. Republicans are a bit more frontiersman-like. And so, but generally speaking, overall, American culture tends to be pretty puritanical when it comes to sex. And part of that is because, you're not supposed to enjoy life if you're a Puritan. And so that's part of enjoying life, right?
Who enjoys sex? Sorry.
I'm just saying that the results I'd say are better. But yes, America is split on that, which is interesting because I live in the area, Jamestown area, if you will. And that's a whole different mindset, even though John Smith is tied in with that and Massachusetts, but people want to ignore it. And they also want to ignore the Jamestown area and say, oh, yeah, everything started with pilgrims. It's like, well, you're kind of forgetting decades. But I agree completely. We're puritanical. We're silly. I mean, we're flat out silly about that. And we do love violence. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I just got a message.
I'm not sure where we went wrong exactly in our history, but yeah, it's a problem.
I just got a message via locals that says I should look into Giuliani's deposition because apparently it's very interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, poor Giuliani. I don't know what's. I still don't know why he didn't fight his charges against for getting suspended. I don't know what's up with this guy.
It's just
Giuliani makes me sad.
Huh?
Every time I think of Giuliani, it just makes me sad because he used to be one of the greatest of all time, and to see him fall this far, it's depressing.
Yeah.
So wait, that's the deposition. The deposition is related to his disbarment, or
the deposition is related, I think, to the defamation claim, but it says here to the origins of something else we're not allowed talking about. The origins of the election, but I'm gonna look into this after to see if I can find an excerpt for some inspiration for a Friday afternoon.
Nice.
Is the list going to be longer? What you can't talk about than what you can, because it's feeling.
Lord, but it's temporary. Like what you can't talk about now, once it ceases being relevant to the narrative, you'll be able to talk about it in a year. Like the origins of the COOF. Couldn't talk about it a year ago. Now you can. So once it becomes irrelevant politically for the narrative, then the flags are lifted.
It's interesting how we got around the First Amendment, right? It's so because now the government doesn't have to directly stop us from saying things, but they can regulate the people who can stop us. So it's like, YouTube, we really don't want you guys to speak really about this stuff. Okay, we know what to do. We'll, as a private company, make sure that these people can't say it. It's interesting the position we get ourselves in.
It's corruption. It's called corruption, and it doesn't need to be by email. It doesn't need to be in writing. Everybody knows their shared common interests, and the media and the big tech know which political party is the one that they need to protect in order for it to happen, and that's just how it works. Unspoken corruption.
It's even worse than what you're saying, Viva, because it's not just the direct censorship, but it's the indirect censorship by avoidance of certain topics that we won't get any information about. For example, we have 1,000, 2,000 Americans who are being held hostage in Afghanistan right now. That would in 1979 we had 64 hostages in Iran, and that was a story the news ran with day by day, having a running count. We don't even know how many hostages there are. People Americans who want to come home. And this is a story that every American should be freaking out about. We don't know if there's 15,000 Americans stuck there. We have no idea how many Americans are there because this administration will not tell us. And the news doesn't cover it. And that's a form of censorship where they refuse to talk about certain stories, and the media and the administration doesn't want to talk about it, and we just don't want to address it at all. And the media lets them get away with it. So instead of there being a crazy public outcry about these Americans who are being stranded there after no one's going to be left behind, and these Americans being stranded there, that's a form of censorship which is insidious because we don't even realize it's happening. We don't even realize this is a crazy story that we all should be talking about. And I think in certain ways, that's actually far more dangerous when they say, if you talk about this on your channel, we're going to deplatform you.
I don't know if anybody watches Russell Brand. He's got it. It's good stuff. Yeah. So I started watching it recently. And like watching the people who have not been aware of this for, let's just say, the last year, because it moves so quickly.
When they discover?
Yeah, when they start his video today was about the attempted assassination plot or the assassination plot on Julian Assange. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is not news to anybody, but it's great to see people discovering it.
It's the normies. That's what it's about. It's like the normies discover it.
Well, I don't want to judge. I think it's great, but it's Oh, geez, I just forgot the thought that I was going to have. No, it's just it is seeing people in real time take the red pill and watch what's going to happen to Russell Brand if he was not already on the outs.
It's already happening.
Yeah,
so it's already happening. It's all that the Katy Perry checks ran out, and no, he's totally being canceled. Next, he's had Jordan Peterson on. Now he'll be Jordan Peterson.
He is good, and I like the way it is. Very, very. It's simply put. I mean, it's a good presentation, but it's just fun watching him discovering the assassination of Julian Assange, but for the fact that it never went through. And it's like, yeah, Joe Rogan's been talking about Operation Northwoods, which was Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Department of Defense. Sorry, talking about committing actual acts against citizens to frame Cuba. I was like, yeah, this happened 30 years ago, but for JFK would have happened, and now it's like everyone's discovering it for the first time.
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, it's the Tuskegee experiments, right? That's the reason why so many black people won't get the vaccine. We don't want to talk about that, right? Because there's a level. I think we have to have a level of distrust.
And the media doesn't want to talk about the fact that black people don't want to get the vaccine.
In Canada,
that's another example of the exact same thing. Like we just don't want to cover actual news, and we're going to give a narrative agenda, and by focusing there, that's all anyone's going to talk about.
Well, in a lot of these cases, a lot of people don't realize a lot of these stations have a financial interest in the story. Like for the U.S. soccer one, which is going to happen, CNN has a financial interest in the story. So and when that happens, then you have a narrative that you want to play out because it's going to get you more dollars. And let's not forget, if I'm talking to people who want to hear a certain thing, I'm going to tell them what they want to hear versus what just the facts of the situation. Why? Because they know that their people don't want to hear the fact that hey, you know what, Trump did something well. Nobody wants to. CNN doesn't run that story. CNN runs the story Trump had trouble walking down the stairs. That's because that's what their fans want to say, and that's the type of news that we're consuming. And that's why people come to YouTube and consume our content, because they know they'll at least get the understanding of what really is behind the curtain.
Oh, Mandalore. Barnes' brothers. It's out. There's an Amazon affiliate link. I should go see how many went through. There's an Amazon affiliate link pinned in that stream with Dr. Gordon Barnes. But Nate, on the issue of financial interest, the CNN reporting on the documentary that it produced is the most in-your-face direct example. But the media in Canada reporting on the government that gave it $600 million bailout. I mean, that's a financial interest. Nobody appreciates that, and so you have the media pretending, the residential schooling system issues is not new, but they pretend it's new. They ignore the fact that in the residential schools, they were literally experimenting on Indigenous children who were malnourished to see what would happen to them with or without certain treatments. And the Indigenous population in Canada is less likely to get vaccinated because of historical experiences. They ignore it all, and then they pretend it's a new event. They convince everyone to throw on an orange shirt for one day, and then they move on. It's it really is depressing, because you realize that the vast majority of people's understanding, it's without judgment that I say this, it's superficial to the point of totally inaccurate. They don't even know what they don't know to know that what they know is total rubbish. And so they change their avatar on their social media for one day and think they've made a difference.
Oh, good Lord. By the way, while everybody's on hot topics that are probably going to get my ass in trouble, we're at 831 subscribers on this other channel. We have 617 people watching. I have a feeling that the math works, that we can get to the 1,000. And I may need to be talking to people on the other channel soon when people are bringing up Coof and everything else and saying the word. So please get over there and subscribe. It will help a lot. And I am the only person on this stream who has had his channel effectively removed from the internet.
Yeah, that's true.
That was amazing. Eric, I remember you calling me up, very distraught, the day it happened. I was like, no, surely they didn't remove your whole channel. Your whole channel. Imagine an existence just like, and it was a mistake. Sorry, here's your life back. The leader, who said the leader is good? The leader is great. We surrender our soul as of this date. Hayes. That was back when the Simpsons used to be funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Nate was there too. I mean, we were on the phone probably right after that, and yes, I was extremely distraught. Not fun, but
yeah. But that shows you the type of power they have over us. Like your emotions and my emotions. Just imagine, God forbid they shut down any of our channels. Just imagine all the work you've put in, all the time, all the effort to grow that community, and then just because you don't say what they want you to say, you're gone. That's a
terrifying.
That's the and don't forget too, YouTube's even changed that policy. So it's not only what we do here on YouTube that can subject us to that. Remember, YouTube's policy now, anything we do in our lives, right? So if I go out there and do something that's totally unrelated, not on video, YouTube can come and remove my channel because that's their new terms of service. So,
and it's not just YouTube.
Ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure all of the social media platforms updated their terms of service after January 6th to basically say that if you have conduct outside of the platform that we disagree with, we can deplatform you.
Well, that happened to Sargon of Akkad and Patreon, by the way. Everybody loves Patreon. They're like, go sign up with Patreon. It's like, no, Patreon and Jack Conte did that shit in 2016.
I've been boycotting Patreon ever since because of that. I haven't used Patreon since that day because I was so disgusted by it.
Well, YouTube is doing that. YouTube has done that to a whole bunch of people. Twitter's done that to a whole bunch of people. All the platforms are doing that. So it's not only them. It's everyone.
The problem is, I mean, they did it to Lauren Southern also, but it might have been more for stuff that she directly did through Patreon. She was the first. I think it was 2017. But the thing is this: you could conceive of the extreme example where it could be justified, like someone goes on an SHOOTING spree. Do you want to keep the content on YouTube? But
now they broke the law.
So that's the issue. But even then, you can think of examples where breaking the law should not even be that. Like stripping boxers of their titles for crimes they committed outside. John Jones, I didn't agree with banning him from the UFC for the crime he committed in Vegas. So the thing is, it's always a case by case situation. But when you're dealing with the scale of YouTube, nobody's assessing the case by case. They're like, okay, we got trigger words here on Twitter. Let's kick them off YouTube, and that's basically how it goes.
But now since we are lawyers, what about the other argument? Because the other argument is something that I think we can't give short shrift to. These are private companies, and they have the freedom of association just as we do. So how does that figure out? Because that's the battle here, right? The battle is the freedom of association. YouTube's argument is going to be, it's our platform. If you don't like it, go. Right, and we're a private company, so we have the private right to dictate what we like and what we don't like, just like you have the private right to dictate what you like and don't like. Now, I disagree with you. Now, my own just rebuttal to YouTube's argument is the fact that, number one, you got Section 230 that they've also said that they were going, there's certain regulations that they said they were going to adhere to, and just being able to just wholesale remove people from the platform is not what Section 230's regulations allow. But
good
I don't know.
Faith
go ahead.
Moderation.
Yeah, good faith moderation.
Good faith, and that's the part that has no teeth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Viva.
My response would be twofold. On the legal front, I would say misrepresentations and fraud to some extent, in that they brought me here because they told me I would be able to say what I say within defined parameters, and they would give me free speech. And then they allowed me to contribute to their goodwill. Sure, yes, we made money while we did it as well, but we built each other's goodwill. And then to arbitrarily say one day, now this is not allowed, even though this is what we lured you here on the promises of, that would be one argument. The second argument, I think they are objectively utilities, and they should be treated as such. And if it needs to go through legislation, it needs to go through legislation. But especially during lockdowns, to pretend that social media is not the literal public square that you're no longer allowed going to anymore, I think as a matter of fact, they are utilities and should be treated as such.
Was there a clear representation to that fact, though, Viva?
It was express yourself, free speech.
Okay, but I'm saying is, where did it ever say that?
Oh,
they're bound by that?
I don't recall the exact terms at the time.
Because I don't know that I've ever seen it. I've heard many people make that argument, and I like the argument if someone can show me where it is that they've actually made that claim to lure us here.
It was sold as the free speech platform at the time. That these issues were not existing at the time. But one thing is for certain: after the fact, say, well, now you can no longer you cannot say the word coronavirus. That was a year ago. To quite literally say that is deceptive business practices, as far as I'm concerned. They're arbitrarily now handpicking, in an editorial sense, what you can and cannot talk about, which was never what they sold you in the first place.
So, and I like the argument. I'm not trying to knock against the argument, to be clear to the audience. I'm trying to strengthen it by finding where by actually being able to cite a source and say, this is where they lured us here under the claims that we'll have false speech. And this is where it turns out to be misrepresentation. So if anyone actually has that information, maybe you don't have it, Vivo, but
I never read I didn't read the terms at the time. I read them, evolving over time. But then the other issue might just be a very simple one of unjust enrichment. Hey, thanks for your contribution to our platform. Now go F yourself. And we're going to keep all of the people you've driven
That's not
here.
the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's I think the public utilities one I think is honestly the weakest of the arguments, because I think first you got to get past the internet providers. They're still not considered utilities, right? So I think that is going to be the problem, because now you're going a level down, because if the internet providers aren't utilities, then you can't say the websites that that you can only access through the internet providers are utilities, because I think you'd have to get past that first level, and I don't think YouTube. I don't think you'll ever get there with YouTube. But the second argument, I do think the unjust enrichment. But then you'd have to. That's a lot to prove, though, because then I don't know if you can survive a motion to dismiss with that claim, and that'd be an interesting claim.
By the way, somebody is having problems getting into in the chat, or they're copy and pasting. I forgot. I actually bought the domain name too. So if you just go to americasuntoldstories.com, it should also take you to the channel.
I was going to say, I'm just looking up the link, but I mean, I think you can get to the utilities argument quite easily when the internet is deemed to be a fundamental right, an essential digital right in Europe. If it has to be a legislative solution, legislate. They
were regulated as utilities for a while under the FCC, because they used to be under Title II, and now they're under Title I, because they didn't want all those things that came with it. So
and Trump in history. And it was Trump's FEC or FCC. They were the ones who changed it to make them from a utility where they could essentially, so everybody understands the backstory. Previously, internet providers could not charge websites for the amount of information, for an amount of traffic. So, for instance, someone like Netflix, they service movies. So what the companies would say is, hey, we want to charge Netflix more because they're going to be using a lot of bandwidth, because people are going to be doing movies over Netflix. So as a utility, they couldn't regulate that. So the Trump administration then changed it to make them the clause 2 utility, which they could then charge these private companies for the amount of traffic over their lines, taking them from something like a water utility to something like to this lesser form of utility. Now, in that process, that then kills your argument that YouTube itself is a utility, because YouTube's only existence is based on that internet connection. So if they're not utilities in that sense for that protection, then I don't see how you get to the website.
Then it's a legislative fix.
I mean, you can't have a phone. You can't have a phone without electricity. So using your argument, Nate, that would mean that you can't call them a utility because they have to have a utility in order to run.
Well, when that first came, the phone lines had their own electricity. That's why I remember the power used to go out and you had a phone jack to plug in. It had a separate power source, so your phone would still work even though you're
but you still have to have electricity at the phone level to run the lines.
But it was a separate system, so it wasn't like it wasn't like the power and the phone were connected where you had to use the electric company to use the phone. It was two separate systems. So even if your power was off, your phone still worked.
Can't exist without the power company. Period. I work in network tech. So
his point is
you can get a solar charger.
Yes, but
that's today. But I think Eric's point is well taken. That he's saying that the phone company is analogous to YouTube and the social media platforms.
His point. I was just giving him a hard time.
Right. No, but I was just making it clear for the viewers.
No, I understand that. But let's say
electricity is internet providers.
All right. So I'm saying with the AT&T case, because this was the AT&T case, right? The AT&T case what was it for the antitrust AT&T case? Yeah. That's what this was
when they broke up my bell. When they broke up my bell.
And that's when they became a utility. So maybe you're right. Maybe it might be a legislative fix. But essentially, I don't believe you can say YouTube is a utility without at least having the source of that utility. It's like saying,
you could say Google. Almost can say Google is very, very close, especially when you consider AdSense and how they own the entire market. There are some problems coming into there, and I don't know if we can get into the trust factor of it, but that may be a factor too. Anti-competitive behavior in the trust. I don't know.
Possibly, but that's been tried. All those arguments have failed. All the antitrust arguments have failed. All the only thing that has some teeth against social media companies is really Section 230, and it's really the MySpace problem, because at one point I think there was a case against MySpace. So everybody understands the background. MySpace was the YouTube before YouTube, and they were getting so big, and then somebody sued them stupidly about antitrust.
I think they were Facebook. They were more Facebook before Facebook.
Yeah, they were Facebook before Facebook, I should say. And then Facebook came and took them over, and then it was like, well, they're not, if this can happen where 2 months later they can be gone, then they're really not either utility or have this thing. So that's kind of what happened.
A case that did happen. Microsoft and Internet Explorer being bundled into the system.
Yes.
And Internet Explorer is not the dominant player on the market, even though Windows still is. Chrome leads them by a good margin. So
Internet Explorer is actually completely gone now, right? As of like a few months ago.
Well, no, Edge, which is Chromium, by the way, ironically. Because Microsoft said, "Oh, who cares? We don't, really care." I mean, Windows is getting very close to becoming just a commodity item that they give away for free.
Let's be real. Amazon is much bigger than Verizon. It's not even close. So how can you say that, like, because they run through the internet, that they're, they can't be a utility until the other one is? Amazon is much bigger than Verizon, and YouTube also. So all these players who are much more valuable and have much more interactivity going on a day-to-day basis than the interactions anyone going to have with a service provider. I don't really agree with your argument there. Although I do want to talk about.
Let's go back to just for that point. If like, what's the name? What's the name of the water? There's a water company, the one in Maine. I forget the one with the green label. The water company where they fill their water bottles with water from the source. The water company is a utility, but now it's like you guys are saying, well, the bottling company, the company that bottles the water, is also a utility. I don't think that follows. I think the utility is a water, right? So it seems like we're having a distinction on what we are saying a utility is. Water, sewer, those things.
Free speech.
Utility.
It's
that's
free
not
speech.
utility. That's a right.
It's really providing free speech. That's really what it is at the end of the day.
No.
And I mean, and that's it. Really comes back to, I mean, to me, what I think might be our best outside of Section 230, which is obviously our biggest hope, that Section 230 gets interpreted differently by or gets interpreted more strictly ultimately by the Supreme Court. Is the only other argument that I think really has viability might be that, given the information we have, that there's been this interconnectivity between government agents and social media in who gets deplatformed, who gets silenced, what tweets get taken down, that perhaps they can be deemed a government actor. And as a government actor, they're unable to inhibit free speech. To me, I think we still need to strengthen that link between social media and the government to establish that they're a government actor. But if that link gets sufficiently fortified, in that case, they start running into all sorts of problems for deplatforming people who express opinions that big tech doesn't like.
I don't know if anyone else did see this, but the ScoJo Disney thing's over. They settled.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Did they announce what they settled for?
No.
Nope.
I bet she said
all of that is confidential. No details have been made public, other than both parties are very happy to have settled.
I'm sure they are.
She had a hell of a case, though. A lot of people didn't think she had a case. She had a very good case. She had a very good case, especially the fact she had done 10 movies, and all 10 movies were done the same way. And now the 11th movie, you changed the game. Hey!
Yeah.
Course of dealings is a real thing.
Oh, that sucks. So there's no meat for any meaningful analysis, just a confidential
I
settlement.
know.
They're so
I know, they're
inconsiderate.
taking away our material.
Yeah, seriously, what's wrong with these
Well, just
people?
for that, I'm going to
see them for that?
hypothesize. I'm going to hypothesize as to what
Can we
the
sue them
settlement
for
was.
tortious interference by
All
taking
right,
away our material?
let's get into some speculation.
They both made tons of money in the settlement. There's no question.
I'm sure they just made up the difference and said, "Here you go," or they gave her a piece of the.
Give her
a piece of
Disney
Disney
Plus for
Plus.
2 years or something.
No, but if they gave her everything she demanded, they would still have the net benefit of what they siphoned off in terms of traffic to Disney Plus. I mean, it's
right.
Yeah,
good investment.
Right. And maybe future movie deals, that kind of stuff too.
And the one
there's something that she's supposed to be in. Oh, Tower of Terror. They said they're coming out with a movie on that, and she's gonna be starring in it.
The one lawsuit in retrospect that I now convinced was advertising from both was the Lil Nas X and the Nike blood shoes. I'm convinced now that was a phony lawsuit done just to promote both that charity, the not-for-profit, and the Nike shoes. I'm convinced they work together because none of it made any sense otherwise.
Still trying to come up with the name for you guys.
Well, we can't do the gaggle. I mean, maybe we can do the.
Yeah. Somebody came up with a couple of good ones, and I forgot what they were, but it's like.
What about playing on Viva's thing, like
invoice of lawyers? I think somebody said
an invoice of lawyers.
Invoice.
we can call them invoice of lawyers.
A retainer.
It's funny now. Now I'm watching all this Disney Plus stuff, and it's so woke. It's so bad. It's like, garbage. Oh my god. But I love the characters, and it's just like seeing them go so woke, so fast. It's crazy.
Well,
and it's funny. I literally was just arguing with somebody on Discord about this. Remember the Ghostbusters movie? And remember Leslie Jones? Yeah, Leslie Jones. She comes out and she's like, "Yes, Ghostbusters. We're going to change all the stereotypes. No men. It's going to be no white men. It's going to be all women." And guess what they did with the black person? The black person was still an uneducated person. So then they challenged on it. They were like, "Well, hold on. You guys said this movie was about killing the stereotypes, but the one stereotype you guys kept from the old movies was that the black person is uneducated. They're not the college professor. They're someone who works at the transit thing that you found on the street, right? Why didn't they do that? Why are you still playing the stereotype? Oh, well, it's about opportunity, not about the stereotypes. What the hell? The whole movie when you just killed your whole thing here. You know what I'm saying? So
motivated reasoning, and I'm just waiting until they go back and try to wokeify Little Mermaid, because did anybody ever notice that when she's wearing the starfish as the bikini? Did everyone pay attention to that?
No.
She's wearing starfish as the bikini.
No, they're shells.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I thought it was shells. I thought they were shells.
I'm gonna actually on
they're
this
shells.
note,
Where are you taking us, Viva? Really?
Hold on. Let me verify.
Murder of crows and an unkindness of ravens.
According to Quora, it's an argument of lawyers.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. This is just one person.
I like squabble. I like squabble a lot.
A squabble.
A squabble.
There's also a huddle of lawyers.
You guys doubt me? You doubt me? It was starfish. People.
What are you doing?
And now
why would you sexualize Ariel?
Oh, I'm not sexualizing it. I'm just saying if you notice, if anybody knows anything about starfish, where their mouths are.
Oh my gosh.
And their
wow. Who thinks of these things?
Well, if I tell you where I got that from, actually, I might get into more trouble. TikTok.
Oh God! By the way, if you want to lose some time on YouTube and just be disturbed, look up the anti-Disney cartoon stuff that people have put together that are looking for. I mean, they like draw every phallic symbol that shows up in Disney art for the past 40, and it is there. It's like you look and you're like, oh boy. And I know that's animators, especially there was one animator who was mortal enemies of Walt Disney. Like he struck. Disney fired him. He got his job back from the Supreme Court, like a huge thing. And I could just see that guy in there just slipping in. Oh, I'm going to paint phallic symbols wherever just to screw the man. But anyway, look it up sometime. It's usually ultra religious people who are going to say that their soul's getting stolen and Disney's the devil, and they're nutty, but it is fascinating to watch.
Also, a lot of feminists don't necessarily like classic Disney movies, also because of the type of roles that women tend to play. Princesses are always the damsel in distress; they have to be saved by the man, that kind of thing. So,
that was history for I don't know 10,000 years or so.
They were taken from fairy tales that actually were passed down culturally in Europe. Yes, of course, yeah.
So
these are all stories that Disney didn't necessarily come up with, but adapted.
Those are shells. Those are shells.
Those are shells. Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, they have mouths also now.
Even though underwater, I wouldn't think you would have the problem of needing that type of support because you're underwater, right? It's like gravity is a lot less under there.
Oh, here we go. Now you're complaining that there's any top at all. Look at you.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. What's
just
the point?
what's the point, right? You're underwater.
Oh, my virgin ears.
It's always about what Viva discovers and what makes Joe cringe. That's what these streams are.
I'm comfortable with that dynamic.
It's great. Just ask him about Fauci juice. It's his favorite.
Can I ask Uncivil why he's competing with me last night? What the hell is that, brother? Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were on.
I have 10 to midnight. That's my thing. You think I'm ever going to go at 7 p.m. on a Sunday? No. Even one day, God willing, I get bigger than Viva, I still wouldn't do that.
First of all, I started at 9,
that?
so you were interrupting me.
That's my schedule. That's like my zone. You're my lane.
Fairness, there's too many lawyers now to coordinate among lawyers, and I feel bad every Wednesday when Gruler's going live at 7 and we're live with Barnes. But look, people can rewatch. People can go, tune in later.
Yeah, that's.
And by the way, someone asked what the headphones were. They're called Koss Portapros. They're amazing. They fold up like this.
Nice.
But they are absolutely the best headphones, quality-wise. They don't go over your ears like like Joe's, which make your ears sweat underneath, and the sound is amazing. And they're like $60.
What's happening to R&R is crazy. It's just like, well, why are they picking on him so much? It's like, it's unbelievably bad.
What happened to him?
He's had problems with his channel. His Discord was deleted. I think he's had problems with revenue and stuff with YouTube too.
He can't get a silver play button because they won't monetize him. They demonetize his channel. He can't get super chats. It's like
has he been demonetized a second time, or are you referring to the old demonetization?
He's not monetized. They removed his monetization from his channel. So he's still allowed to do videos, but he can't. He has no super chats, no nothing. And then they keep striking him. So I think he's done 2 strikes now. He's like one more strike and he's going to be gone.
I don't know why they're picking on him so much. I mean, I've seen some of his content. I've had him on. He seems like a nice guy. Should I delete the video I did with him just out of safety?
I will tell you.
I don't know. I don't know what's up with him. I don't know why.
Have you guys ever streamed? And then I actually did a stream which I deleted 10 minutes after my stream was over, only because I was like, I'm afraid. I don't want them reviewing this. I don't want them ever looking at this thing again. And I'm like, you know what? I really just wanted to get my thing out there. Whoever saw it, and whoever didn't. And I wonder if that would keep me safe in general. If like,
I think it's worse.
Yeah, because they say it very clearly. Even if you delete the video, they can still bang you for it. So,
and not just that. Once you delete, you might be deleting exonerating evidence. I mean, that's the issue.
Well, it goes to Odyssey. It goes to Odyssey, so it stays up there.
But you never. I don't think I've ever had one that I've even manually demonetized afterwards. But no, I think once you start deleting things, you might be deleting stuff that might help you. And once you're no longer there, they get to say whatever they want about you. So they could say that stream was go to Odyssey, and everyone's going to go and question whether or not it was the original stream as you aired it on YouTube. No, I would have left it, but they could, and you don't delete it from YouTube's internal servers anyhow. So you're on a list.
But I got off the list, Joe.
I saw Gruler was demonetized again. I was able to super chat him. It was a few weeks ago now. So
so it might be back then, because remember he did that whole big live stream. They told him he killed the monetization. Yeah.
I was worried for him when I saw him talking. I think it was after Biden made his speech about the new change in the laws that are going forward with respect to companies, which I don't want to even say any more clearly than that. We all understand what I'm saying. So he had a stream right afterwards breaking it down. And I was like in the chat there saying like, dude, you're really walking a very fine line here. I mean, in saying things, everything he said was true. It was accurate. It was a great breakdown like he always does. Yeah. But I was like, this is just stuff you cannot say if you want to stay here.
But isn't that a shame now? Him saying things that are actually true will get him thrown off. It's like,
dude,
really?
in Canada, defamation can be true. I'm not joking, by the way, people.
Yeah, I know that's tough.
At least you're not Australia, right? You're Australia 2.0. But
it's a funny thing.
I've had streams or videos demonetized where I'm reading a court decision. I'm like, this is the law, but the law, it contains bad words. I'm like, but it's the law. I'm not allowed to cover the law anymore. That's nice.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I wonder it's because they consider themselves above the law, and thus we get back into the point of maybe they need to be regulated. If they're going so crazy overboard that even the law itself can't be read, we've got a problem, don't we?
It's interesting because it's funny hearing conservatives say we need more regulations, especially when everybody's just like, we don't hate regulations, but now it's like, well, they won't let me say what I want to say, so more regulations.
You assume I'm a conservative.
Huh? No, it's just well, conservatives do say that though. That they will.
Oh, sure.
Tell me any
everybody's
conservative that doesn't believe that we need more regulations on YouTube and social media.
Oh, there's a ton of
That's like
conservatives who are very quick to say cover the nipple or whatever, and cover that statue because there's nudity. There's a lot of conservatives who are hypocritical. Absolutely.
No, but
It's
there's
funny
also-
because it'll on one side it's but I think both sides, like you guys know me, I think both sides are just the same. So it's
there is a distinction to make between regulating and regulation that says do not interfere with them. So there is a concept of free market regulation. It's not like creating new laws where you already have existing laws, like hate speech laws where you already have hate speech or incitement in the criminal code. This is a regulation which is going to prevent interference. So it's a different type of regulation, in a sense, not hypocritical for the Republican side or the right to say, yes, I support some regulation when that ensures absence of interference in free markets. So it's not like government interference regulations. It's just don't F around regulations. And I think they do need it. But the regulation would be respect First Amendment. If it violates the law, you can remove it. Other than that, you're a private enterprise. Yeah, but you service 300 million. How many people are on YouTube? 300 million?
Well,
no more.
I think so. But if the regulation is YouTube must follow the First Amendment, must do whatever to the First Amendment. That regulation would be violating YouTube's constitutional rights.
Well, I vote for
YouTube
Viva.
because YouTube is not a government actor. YouTube is a private party. Uncivil law. Am I wrong?
No, you're mostly right. But private parties, private actors can be, legislated and regulated.
Yes.
So there's all those things. Since freedom of speech is a paramount value, there's the idea from Brandeis, the cure for bad speech is more speech, not silence.
Yes.
And
do you remember the what's the case? The case from the first civil rights cases for state action, where the state action doctrine arose. For those of you who know, after the Civil War, Congress wanted to regulate private parties' conduct and said, well, you can't discriminate, you have to, and it was the original civil rights cases, not the one from the 60s, but from the 1800s. And the Supreme Court struck it down and established a doctrine known as state action. So private parties can violate your free speech and so forth because they have the right to exclude you. So if Congress creates a law that says YouTube must follow the First Amendment, my first citation would be the civil rights cases and all the subsequent cases of state action.
You can't go that far, but there might be possibilities. The Department of Justice under the Trump administration had an idea which might be tenable, which is you can have any policy you want, you just have to be really clear and actually obey it uniformly. So having a policy you want, just apply it equally.
Yeah.
And be clear about it and don't lie about it. That seems fine. Because you're requiring them to be honest about their speech, which is a proper regulation for business. No, okay, that seems okay.
I would take it back one step. I know that the argument that it's a violation of the free speech of enterprises. I would say that the second you agree to get corporate recognition by the government and you get certain benefits as a result of it, I'd say that you can say that the price you have to pay for that privilege is to respect the Constitution because you are being granted certain privileges for your corporate statehood from the government. If it didn't exist before they gave it to you, you're not an individual. You're a company that is recognized by the state that gets certain benefits as a result of your corporate status. You might have extra obligations, which are actually setting aside, by their nature of the institutions. Yes, I can understand religious institutions, Boy Scouts can, have certain limitations that are built into the institution. But to go into YouTube and say built into this corporate enterprise is you don't talk about whatever YouTube says you don't talk about. No, I have a harder time believing that, accepting that. And I would say that you have to make certain compromises if you want to get certain benefits from the government. It's set up so that sorry, go ahead.
The premise of that argument was, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to get Alita in here. She's just sitting here just watching everybody play tennis. And I'm like,
just let me bring up one case. By the chat for a minute.
What Viva said, I agree with everything you said, but one case destroys the whole argument, and it's Citizens United. Citizens United stands for the proposition that you can't, that companies are people, and their speech is just protected as anyone else.
Okay,
that's
Citizens United does not stand for the proposition company or people. That goes way further back.
Companies are
it goes way further back than Citizens United. The idea of corporate personhood. That's kind of the point of corporations, Nate.
I am, but I'm saying,
But the
Viva's
idea
point-
that First
Viva's
Amendment
point,
rights extend to corporations.
extend to corporations. Isn't
Yeah.
that Citizens United, or is it not Citizens United, Kurt?
I thought.
Well,
Citizens
it's
United
along those
said
lines.
money is speech.
Money is
All
speech,
right,
but-
easy.
I've done a couple
Well,
videos
but-
that says, you're hitting a sore point.
Go ahead,
Let's go back to
Hit
Alita
it,
because we
Kurt.
forgot about her again.
Oh, go ahead, Alita. Go ahead.
No. No. So I don't have an immediate follow up. So we might as well continue.
Oh, I can just yell at Nate about Citizens United for a
Go
while.
ahead, go ahead. Yell at me. Go ahead.
Oh, no,
No,
I'll
yeah,
say-
there's
go ahead.
lots of case law on corporations and their rights in all kinds of domains, Fourth Amendment domains, rights of privacy, and First Amendment domains too. I mean, to put it strictly, the New York Times is a corporation, so they're
New York Times
a
Television.
corporation that publishes a newspaper, so they have freedom of speech. Those concepts go way further back than Citizens United. Citizens United did with money. And
Money is
how
speech.
money is part of speech, which there's this idea money is speech, which I'm not sure the Supreme Court ever actually said those words.
Well, no, they didn't. But
much
the
better, money
proposition-
facilitates speech, which is much more accurate.
But the proposition is that that company, those companies, had the right to free speech, right? And the government, and by doing the government regulations, was a hampering on their free speech, right? They can spend money for speech and blah blah blah, and that's more or less the tenet of Citizens United. These private companies had the right to free speech.
There were certain rights which, by definition, could not be extended to corporations. I would argue that certain rights should be limited. If individuals want the corporate protection that comes along with the privilege of being recognized as a corporation by the state, you might have to respect other laws that would otherwise apply to state entities, because you are being given privileges by the state. So maybe by extension, I know what the state of the law is. I know what my argument would be, but
even outside of the First Amendment, though, I mean, corporations have been given other rights that they can have. Maybe not even corporations, smaller companies. A bakery has religious rights. So does a large corporation. Hobby Lobby, for example, they have a right to have their religious views as well.
The Hobby Lobby case, I think, is a really good case.
Hobby Lobby, I'm not sure was correctly decided.
Yeah, you
Oh,
don't think so?
there we
I
go.
like Hobby Lobby.
Here we go. Let's go. Come on, bring it, boys.
Because the idea of Hobby Lobby is if you have a small enough, closely held corporation that they still have religious rights. And I'm not sure I 100% buy that, because if you're a corporation, if you're in that corporate form, why should it matter how many people are there or how closely it is? It's like you want the benefits of the corporate form, you get the drawbacks of the corporate form. So I was like, I'm not sure the logic quite works.
So how do you settle that? Like somebody brought up New York Times. New York Times is both press and a corporation. That is kind of two different entities, and they're two different identities. So how
First
do
of
you
all,
settle
in my humble
tension?
opinion, the New York Times is not protected by freedom of the press. They're protected by freedom of speech. Freedom of press, in my view, protects technology, not words. It protects the fact that you're printing in a newspaper, the literal printing press. That's what it protects.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
so
I don't know who deserves freedom of press anymore. I don't even understand what freedom of press means.
Well, freedom of press, in my view, would be saying I have the right to say my message using radio, or I have the right to use my message using. It doesn't have anything to do with the.
I have my right.
It has to do
I have
with
my right to
the
say
medium.
stuff on YouTube. Is that freedom of press?
That would be part of the idea.
If the government ran YouTube, yes.
If the government ran YouTube, yes, that would be part of the idea.
Or if YouTube is a government actor.
Yes. If you prove the government.
Which,
yeah.
They might be, at least in part, but yeah.
They have a hotline between Google has a hotline.
That's a factor. It's not enough, though.
To senators saying, who should we deplatform? Who should we take down? What messages should we take down? Let us know, and we're on it.
Facebook has
Facebook has
basically
that.
been deputized by the NSA, so there's that.
Seriously,
you
they've
need
got
a little
the
bit more. You need a little bit more.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need. I'll find it. I'll dig it up. I'm going to say
We've been looking for
Actually,
the
but
past 10 years.
to the point, because I forgot the point. It's like, New York Times is protected by the freedom of speech clause in the same way religion. So you can think of religion as a corporate form, which it certainly enough is, but it also is protect. So there's that, but it also has a religious purpose, which means it covers the religious and free exercise clauses interfere. So to the extent that corporate entities, so if you tried to apply the Hobby Lobby decision to a church, I'd be like, no, you can't do that. It's a church. They have freedom of religion. But the corporation of Hobby Lobby, in my humble opinion, doesn't have freedom of religion. I understand its constituent members do, but it's a corporation. It's not a corporation for a religious purpose. It sells, hobby stuff. So I don't quite see the logic of Citizens United. I'm not 100% sold on it.
Yeah, but then how do you? But then the Baker's case, right? Unless the Baker wasn't a corporation, was an individual.
Well, that's freedom of speech, right? That's freedom of speech.
No, that was
in my humble opinion.
Was it free speech or was it freedom of religion?
Take your pick, either one.
A little bit of both.
Yeah,
but it was freedom of speech, as I understand it. That's the way,
by forcing them to make the cake,
painting the messages. Yeah,
forcing them to make the cake was the speech. Forcing them, and the other one was the religion that they would disagree with the message.
A Hobby Lobby doesn't make speech.
They agreed to make the cake. Hold on, because there is a factor there. They agreed to make the cake, just not put a message. They said, "Here, you can have a cake all day. You can go right where you want." And I don't think that it's quite the same thing. They always say they refuse to make a cake. It's like, well, not exactly. They
they had a whole book of cakes you're free to choose from.
That was one of my eye-opening experiences where the media was saying they refused to sell a cake to the couple. And I was like, oh shit, that doesn't sound good. And then you go and you read it, and they said, no, you can have anything in the store. We're just not making that specific message. And that was the lawsuit. And that was, and I don't think anybody can really disagree with that. And it's not even that they were asking them to make a message that they had already made. It's
well, I think
it's not even freedom of religion; it's freedom of speech.
Yeah, well, I think it touched on both, because the person was saying, I don't want to write the message because of my religious.
Right.
Well, I mean,
the speech piece.
The cake case was ultimately decided on religious grounds, so the point's well taken. The Supreme Court reversed on the basis of a religious hostility from all the messages at the city council level, where they were saying things like, Christianity is evil and all the rest of it. It's like blatantly adverse to religions. That was the problem ultimately. So freedom of religion actually was the argument that won the day.
Yeah. And I think that was rightly decided.
If they ordered a cake which you wanted to use the N-word on it, and they said, sorry, we're not making that.
Yeah, see, that's the part where I don't think, again, it's like not thinking things all the way through, which makes me really, really irritated. Because all these left people are like, you should be compelled to write speech. I'm like, okay. So what you're saying is you want, people of the right to be able to come in and say this message, and you don't want them to be able to say, no, that's not what we meant. Oh, I'm so confused.
Take a little less inflammatory or a little less shocking, like a more plausible example is 1776 on a cake. And you go, and Cakes was like, I don't want to write that. It's like, just write it. No, okay, fine, here it is. You take a picture of it, post it on Instagram. Where'd you get it? I got it at Bakery Dakery down the street.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, now that's it. So
that's where I got my golden showers cake. So
America is good. America is good. The cake.
Hey, think about this though. If the cake case was decided differently, where let's say the government was able to force those bakers to write that message, then I think you have an argument to regulate YouTube under that same premise. Because if you can compel them to make that speech, then what's stopping you from compelling YouTube to allow that type of speech?
Yeah, and I already said I wouldn't go that far because of exactly that reason. That's going too far.
Yeah,
just to compel.
If they had ruled
compelling speech is fundamentally bad. That's just a per se First Amendment violation and I think the Supreme Court's viewpoint.
Yeah,
you can't compel speech. That's just a no-go.
That's wrong. That's wrong, Kurt. And say it.
Well, that was the.
Although in some respects you can. Right, because there's the live free or die case, right? I think what is it, New Hampshire? Sorry, I'm not originally from.
Yeah, that would be New Hampshire.
Yeah. With the license
thank you.
Yeah.
So how it says live free or die on the license plate, and I think that was one of the cases where the Supreme Court was like, they can compel that even if you don't actually believe.
Well,
in that,
the basis of
phrase.
it was the finding that the license plate was the state's speech, not the person's speech. That was the basis.
Even though it's on somebody's personal car.
Yeah, because it's the state issued it. It's their thing. So it's the state speech.
Driving is a privilege, not a right.
Jordan Peterson, C16, that's compelled speech, right?
In Canada, that's not so much compelled speech. That was the
well, that's what he was arguing.
Oh, that's what he was arguing. He might have proven to be more right than wrong, but that was just adding aggravating factors to hate crimes under the criminal code, which they said, well, it could be used to criminalize not gendering someone the way they want to be. And then there were two cases, one of the British Columbia, that seemed to confirm that, but there were more details to that case that made it somewhat more nuanced. But
good. George Orwell stepped in. Ministry of Truth has said that YouTube is not a government entity. Therefore, they will monitor out of concern for our inability to do it ourselves.
See, if I were in the
Great.
live free or die lawsuit, I would have just said that's a total misunderstanding. It says live free or the in German.
Yeah, the bar,
Another
the.
Simpsons
You
joke.
watch too much
Yeah.
Simpsons. You watch too much
It
Simpsons.
says the Bar
The Bart,
Simpson.
However,
As
while
we
we're
all
on
step
compelling-
on rakes for the next 30 seconds.
All right, so I'd like to compel everyone to subscribe to my other channel.
How we at? Come on, how many people we got watching the stream? You guys got to come on, guys. Just
you'll
click
get-
the
you'll
link
get it.
and do it.
Yeah,
You'll get it on
Please,
the
just so he
rewatch.
stops putting this thing up there. If only for that.
yeah,
Give him his
exactly.
1,000.
Yeah.
Eric, I still haven't gotten the invitation for Super Thanks. Did anyone know that this exists? It is
I have
have
super
it.
thanks.
Yeah, I have
What
to
is-
thank
I
you.
have it for some reason.
What is
I don't know
super
why,
thanks?
but I do.
It's where somebody can watch the replay later, and they can essentially give you a super chat after the fact on the
Yep.
replay.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So I have it and Viva does it. I feel better now.
I won't.
You have to go to your monetization page and click a
No,
button
it
to
says
set it up.
it's not. It says it's not offered to me yet. I'll get a notification as soon as it's available.
David, just talk to your guy.
No, I'm
Because
going to
so
sue them. I'm gonna
YouTube
come-
gave you somebody, right?
Do you have a guy?
Oh shoot! So I was supposed to schedule. Thank you very much.
You have a
Eric.
guy. You have a guy, Viva. You
No,
and
I-
Nick are the only two people I know who have a guy.
I
Well,
need
Nate
someone
will.
to refresh my
Yeah,
memory.
Will
I got a
say-
guy too. So
Let's
yeah.
know how that works
really?
out for you with the guy.
Wow.
Well, when you
So
get
it's
when
basically-
you
it's
when you get over
anti-Semitism.
100,000 subs, they give you a guy. What can I say?
Yeah.
They
They
don't
give you a
always.
guy.
They don't
The
always.
guy
That's
comes with the
David.
play button.
I only got the email. I only got the email last week, or even this week, for a channel manager. But
Oh, really?
yep,
How many
Yes.
people do you have subscribed to you again?
380,000.
83,614 last count. Oh, 633. Oh,
Look
wait.
at that. You're welcome. You see, now you're leeching off of me. You got 17 people from this channel who like 17 of my fans came and started following Viva Frei. You're welcome, my brother.
It says grift harder. Okay. Speaking of which, I have to go because I'm going
Yeah, I
to go.
run too.
We have, I think
Children
Nate
up.
and I have the same problems. Yep. Everyone,
All right.
this was a wonderful way to spend a Friday noon to 2 o'clock. I think we should do it more often.
Yes.
Yes.
That's fine.
We all
Agreed.
say no, we should be compelled to do it. And
There you go.
By mutual agreement.
Compelled to speak.
Speak.
Perfect way to end. And let me see. Everybody here is on locals except for Uncivil.
VivaBarnesLaw.locals. How can I not figure this out? It's all backwards. It's right here. You know where it is. Viva Barnes Law.
Oh, I like watching Robert every time you show it when he goes in the opposite order, like he's doing the Hebrew version.
I just
of-
don't know what to do with it. I don't know what I would do with the locals. That's my problem.
Do it and don't
Get
and ask
rich.
questions later.
You know what?
I'll give you one right now. When you do your recording and the videos you split up,
Yeah.
you do it on YouTube. We'll do it on locals, and everybody who subscribed to you on locals gets to see you do your full recording. The paid members, and then you split it up on YouTube, and there you go. They're supporting.
You can also
in
talk
that.
about pandemics on YouTube.
You mean
And
on?
laws,
on
and
locals.
laws about that.
Yes, you can talk about
Okay.
that. You can talk about
You could say the F
Fauci
word.
juice. You can talk about whatever. Nate and I
There
have
are now
actually
two
all
F
on-
words.
If I sign
right?
up for locals, are you going to start saying
Because there's
one
a
of
doctor
us, one of
and
us?
You gotta do
Sorry.
it. Let's see.
But
No, the locals is just it's fantastic. It's
Locals
whoever
is
would
amazing.
otherwise be a member on YouTube can do it on locals and feel better about who they're supporting on locals. Then
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, locals. Is amazing.
and everybody's letting me down. Come on now, we haven't even hit 900.
Oh, dude,
There's 643
Come on.
watching.
I'll go
Refresh
I'll go
the
I'm
page.
gonna give you a
I did.
super thanks. When you watch this.
Unbelievable. Everybody's
Come on,
killing it.
guys.
I know what it is. That they're all going to leave the stream and head right over. I'm sure when this is done.
Your RFK assassination video. That one just got a thousand hits. That's not bad.
That's good. That's good traffic.
Nate, get the soccer video out there. I want people to see the genius that we talked about in that video.
When do I get my butt in a Viva video or some Nate video? I never get that. I don't understand.
Listen, for the people who've been in the Nate videos, they know how good a Nate. And matter of fact, what are you talking about? You were on a Nate video. You had
Yeah, I was.
remember the 500 live
Yes,
viewers you
but
had. Let's not
that's a
forget
live
about
stream.
that. And let's
That's a
not
live
forget
stream.
about that. Oh my
That's a
God, I don't
live
have enough
stream.
watch time. Oh my
That's
God, Nate's viewers gave me one video
That's
with
a
so
live
much
stream.
watch time.
Look, brother.
have you done
Look,
for
I
him
appreciate
recently?
it. But that doesn't get
500
watched.
live viewers is like,
Oh my
Nate's not done
gosh.
nothing for me. Oh my God. Nate got me monetized. Nate's done nothing for me. We had this conversation, Joe. We had this conversation.
I'm not saying. Look. I'm just wondering. I'm one of those frozen in time things that people will go back to like more than 30 seconds after it happens. That's all I'm saying.
So the Chauvin trial verdict is something people are going to go back to. That's what we did. We did the Chauvin trial. Remember the verdict?
I had to take it down. I had to take it down when they flipped over to me. I literally had to take. That's the one video they said you must take this video down.
Because ticking up. Come on, it's ticking up. It's ticking up. We can get there. Come on.
Yay!
I got to go before I get calls from the school saying that I'm a bad father. So,
oh no!
Everybody, good weekends to all.
You don't need a call for that. You know it.
Listen, guys, you guys have a great time. Thanks again for having me. Please go hit this channel up. This is going to be amazing. Yes, 1,000 in 2 days. We want to do the record.
Yeah, come on. I opened this Wednesday at 5. Let's get it to 1,000. And then my partner can actually get paid from the channel.
Yay!
Jenna Eliane on. You'll get 2 million subs in a week. It'll be amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oof. For sure.
Okay,
all right.
I'm out of here as well, people. Good weekend
Later.
to you all.
Nice to see you, Viva.
Everybody, thank you. You guys want to keep going for a minute, or are you ready?
Well, since I was a half hour late, I feel compelled to stay a half hour more.
He's going to do the overtime. He's going to be mopping up after the show's over.
We'll sit here and we'll keep streaming till we hit
9:17.
No. Yeah, this is looking good. Please.
Good.
We're staying here. We're staying at 9:18. Nice.
9:18.
I don't know. It's almost
Keep
like
it
a
coming.
reverse thing.
We're pushing this forward. We're pushing it forward.
Well, I'm going to get to 1,000. I mean, how often I am the worst person asking for subs or anything else. I'm always like, well, if you don't mind, maybe you can. I don't know.
I went with it in my intro. I say maybe today is the day I earn your subscription, so it's a little bit softer. And at the end, I say, please remember to subscribe with the harder ass.
Oh, you've been watching the quartering.
I have been watching the quartering. I thought it was a good idea. I stole it.
Okay. I got to talk about the quartering for a minute. Is it me, or on his videos does it seem like, oh shit, the time's up? Well, I hope you enjoy my video. I mean,
it does seem a little abrupt.
Every single time, and it reminds me of like my father when he would be like, "Okay, yeah, bye-bye," on the phone. He'd be like, "What?"
Yeah.
You know how when you talk to some people of a certain age group and they just cut off? He does his videos that way, and I'm just because I'm listening, I'm not really watching, and he's like, da da da. He does a sentence, and he just, I hope you enjoy it. And it's gone.
I mean, I've also heard of people talking about YouTube strategy, right? How to keep people watching through to the end. And there are those that say that you don't really want to give people cues that like, well, we're basically wrapping up here and you can stop paying attention, you can go away because I'm about to go.
I signed up for that vidIQ's daily suggestion thing. So vidIQ has this paid for feature where if you give them $50 a month, so I figured I'd try it out for a month. They use GPT-3, the new autocomplete stuff, to scan your channel and recommend, based on past history, AI suggestions for video titles.
Oh,
so I'm going to see if any of that might work for my channel. So we'll see how good the $50
if it
system
does,
is.
I want to hear about it.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Should we see what today's suggestions are?
Yeah. What? Tell us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me.
Are they individualized for you, or they're just
they're individualized for me.
Oh, that's cool. I got the $50 thing, and I don't remember seeing that. But then what the problem is?
It's a relatively new feature.
My channel's all over the map, so it'd be like.
Also, you have to go into vidIQ to do it.
On, it'll say Scientology today.
Okay, here's what their suggestions are in order. Democrats' false narrative about Republicans debunked. Black outrage over Haitian migrants. Haitian migrants under Texas bridge. Texas doctor spreads false claims about COVID-19 vaccines.
Yeah, you're killing me. Don't say it.
I'm just telling you what it says, man. So those are some of their 50 suggestions. One of their suggestions is AOC visits Biden kids in cages. Yeah, that's probably not happening. So I'm not sure I agree with you on that one.
So wait, these are videos they're telling you should be making?
Yes. So their prediction for very high viewer count. So their only one that's very high is the first one. Democrats' false narrative about Republicans debunked. That they predict that is a very high view for my channel.
That probably would be.
Okay.
your channel. Are you on those sites? We were looking it up the other day, and people are like, "Oh, they're just following their own channels." That showed that like David is a complete right winger.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they've rated me too. A lot of those, like they say that I'm right, alt-right, anti-SJW. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty all accurate.
Anti-woke.
Parson Rice, yeah, I'm like, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I don't warrant it yet. I don't think Alita or Joe.
I'm not big enough yet. I'm under the radar.
Which, sometimes enjoy that.
Well, you're hanging out with me, Alita, so, that's going to taint you forever.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Oh, Zagarnik effect. Yeah, that's right. So maybe that is what he's doing, is that he's ending so abruptly you don't realize, and you're like, oh, shoot, I'm at the end. And it's like, and I do, because I'll be just listening, and then all of a sudden it's rolling into another video. Oh, okay. So maybe it is something very clever. He does have like.
You are the hardest working man in show business. I couldn't believe when I woke up my phone and I turn it on and I see that you're doing this live stream with a guy, like 10 minutes before you're supposed to be live streaming with us, and I'm like, I don't know how he does it. I always
need a little bit of a mental break afterwards.
Yeah.
Just to like kind of clear my head after, trying to be on.
Man. I gotta get it, make the hay when the sun's shining. And honestly, when I have a Brit coming on, it's hard to figure out the timing when I have to do it in the early evenings, but then that's going to be close to midnight for them over there. So every other Friday I have off of my day job. That's why I do this live stream on the Fridays. And then, okay, well, if it's somebody English, like I've got somebody who's in Belgium who may be on in 2 weeks beforehand. Actually, it does kill me. I mean, it is like okay, I'm tired, no mental break. But then I can't say that I put a ton of thought in these panels.
You just sit back and watch what happens. And let him go. Just let him go.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's a lot better. I mean, I would sit there try to come up with subjects and all that because I'm, a freak. And then I was like, I showed up one time and I was like, I have no idea what I want to do, and I just want to wing it and kind of like entertain me. Joe, start talking. Okay, I'll catch you up.
I'm going to clip that and use it as advertisement for my channel. There you go. When Eric Hunley is looking for entertainment, he brings me in. So you should just be here all the time. There you go.
Well, that's like cutting you off at the end. It's just a fun meme.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And people they're like, wait, what? That ended weird. And it's like,
I didn't even understand that. Where am I having a stroke? I'm not having it. I'm totally cool.
No idea. Come on, guys. 9:41. Yes, I'm obsessed about it.
I don't know if we're gonna make it to 1,000. It's like slowing down. You're gonna have to talk about banned things in order to get people in here to start clicking on your show.
Well, I know. I got to get Viva to discover something and get a nice meme snapshot.
Yes. Yeah. Have him go through Urban Dictionary and just reading off stuff there.
I got Alita. Let's talk about Rekida's chat. I know that makes you super comfortable.
Rekida has a very busy chat. He's got the live stream thing going on.
It's funny because I go in there. Because of my time zone. His late night streams are mornings
legit.
For me.
It's like
so. I enjoy going in there, and almost every single time when I show up and I'm just kind of chatting with people, almost inevitably every time someone is like, no, you need to go away. You need to, you can't, you're going to be ruined by this, or there are people that are horrifying in here. And I'm like, I grew up with brothers. I don't know. I mean, I can handle it. I think, I get it.
And you're the only sober one.
That's true. That is also a very good point.
You've been on with Nick, haven't you?
I have once.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
She was asked the question.
Question. Yes, and my answer was dissatisfactory to many, but I don't care.
I gave the same answer, by the way.
I don't know what answer
you did.
Yeah.
I mean,
I declined.
I basically said I think I understand the question, and I will not respond.
I'd have a drinking contest with you. You once had a drinking contest with Nick Rekida?
And Kurt lost. He lost.
What does that mean?
What were the factors to determine who won?
I thought it was quantity consumed.
We were thinking about an ambulance being called. Let's put it that way.
Because I had one with Nick also, and I want to take you on. I want to take you on next. Now there are disputes about who won the one between me and Nick because he actually conceded and said you win at a certain point.
He said that to me too.
And then 10 minutes later, I spewed.
And die.
I did not spew.
And I audibly spewed.
Yes.
Like you could hear on mic the. So,
yes.
But I thought I'd won already. I thought I'd landed my victory. I'm like, okay, now I can like unleash. I'm totally good. I got my little crown. I got my little trophy. And the next thing I know, they're trying to do. They're doing the whole Al Gore thing. Like it's like.
Take it back.
I was Bush, and I'm like, you conceded. I don't understand. Why am I dealing with this? Did I just date myself? I think I just totally dated myself there with that reference. But
no, I get it. Yeah. With the takey backsies, yeah. Gore versus Bush, we got it.
Yeah, no, well, you're my age range. I'm talking like anyone under 70. So
I'm under 70. I understand the reference.
Well, okay, that's because you're politically and like legally inclined. But all right, anyway.
Well, so is everyone that's watching this probably.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Good point.
So what? So you up for it, Uncivil?
I'll think about it because I'm not sure it was my best look, to be honest.
So what happened? What happened in yours? What did?
It is possible that I might have gotten slightly inebriated, and perhaps was not at my best when speaking, and so forth.
Were you slurring? Were you slurring badly?
Oh, there might be possibilities of suggestions along those lines,
or maybe saying things that you otherwise wouldn't say.
I didn't have that problem.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because I rarely that almost never happens that I'll say something that afterwards I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said. Not just when I'm online, even when I'm regular drinking, I tend not to say things that I have an internal filter, even when I'm like roaring drunk, where it's just like that's where you go, not any further.
I have a weird filter that is essentially. I'll get so drunk I'll start to slur a little, but then if you're talking, I'll just fall asleep. So
how about you and me, Alita? I'll give you a spot. What do you need? Like 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1?
For a drinking contest?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could maybe do it. I would have to seriously think about it. I tend to get
the
witty.
grift is really strong with it. Grift is really strong. Because you set your drinks.
How about me versus Viva? If I win, I get his channel. That'd be good.
No, you have to set your drinks based on super chats. So like that's why the grift.
Oh God,
was...
yeah, $1,000, or whatever. Then you get
Yeah,
Wait,
no. So with us, like
$100 on your.
Yeah,
channel,
mine was 100, and
which is amazing.
And Ricketta did his at every 200.
Thank God for that, or you would have died.
Yeah, I would have died if he would have done 100. I would have died.
I mean, I'd be in trouble if he did his at 500. Good Lord.
Yeah, but it was like a follow up. I went from my 100 to his 200, which is why I think I ended up taking roughly like 11 shots or something like that. I don't know. I finished one bottle and I was on to the next one.
I think that Nick was more drunk with you, Joe, because he was doing his Nick routine with Kurt. Because you got to watch Nick. He drinks a lot, but he's taking little bird pecks of a sip.
I wasn't doing
he can make a
shit.
drink. No. Kurt, it was like, oh, I'm already a bottle in when I start. It was just insane.
No, I got my shot glass at the ready always, and I'll fill it like a little bit more than halfway because this is a double shot, and I'll just quick shot it. So, which is how God wants us to drink alcohol. So,
fair.
I will tell you, I forfeit against both of you. So you've already both beat me right from the jump.
People, yeah. I see it. My internal filter just stopped me from going any further. What I was about to say. So,
well, Indy has something that she wants to say. Oh. What is it, Indy? No, never mind.
No, I was about to make reference to a family member, and what I realized is that anytime I talk about anyone in my family, invariably someone from my family is watching somewhere, cousins, nephews, whatever, and they will go right to whoever it is, rat me out, and however is the worst way it could possibly be interpreted, that is how the family member will take it. And all of a sudden, I sit there apologizing. I'm like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't saying that. You're misunderstanding me. And it's like I have to sit here. So that's why I was like, you know what? I'm not, unless they come on my show directly like my dad does, I'm not even talking about them. I'm not talking about it. I don't need to hear it. I just don't, I don't want to deal with it. Or if they're my kids, because my kids can't say anything to me. So my kids are ripe topics.
Well, they're there for you to humiliate, or for them to grab things for you, right?
As if my very existence doesn't humiliate them enough. So,
all right, 9:45. Come on, folks.
All right.
We're not. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it to 1,000, my brother.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Everybody, you're letting me down. I'm sure that you're all going to surprise me as soon as it's over. Hopefully not the other way and be like all of a sudden it's circling down for you. You're like, unsub, never mind.
It's true, by the way. My dad is way more popular than I am. The stream loves him. They're always telling me, shut up, let him talk. So
they tell you know what they say that with David when Barnes is on sometimes, and I've had it with Barnes, and Barnes will fill a conversation. I promise you.
So my dad.
And I'm like,
I should put my dad on with Barnes.
Do I need to show the wave to you guys? Because I promise you, I am not interrupting Barnes. I love Barnes. I've given him all the room, and it's like, shut up. It's like,
so you could appreciate my dilemma, Eric, because it's like, when I'm sitting there, so I'm sort of interviewing my dad. He's got a doctorate in Middle East Muslim Christian relations. So whenever we're talking about stuff in the Middle East, he always has stories about like historical things with what led to this, what led to that, and all these things going on in the Middle East and Middle Eastern mindset. And he's a phenomenal resource that I've been blessed to just be born from. But sometimes when I ask him a question, so he'll start launching into some story, and it'll really be very tangential. And then from there, he'll break into another story. And I'm trying to like dial him back in, because since he loves history, he'll just start going on story. And every Muslim name starts sounding the same to me after he mentions the third one. I'm like, are we talking about Al-Kabbalah? Are we talking about Al-Kamira? And I'm like, I don't even remember who he's talking about anymore. So I'm like, okay, I'm thinking to myself, my audience needs him to be dialed back in. I just sort of want to just focus him. Answer my question. What's the difference between Al-Qaeda and Taliban? That's the question. I don't know why I'm hearing a story about like from 40 years ago about Al-Kamira. But yeah. And then when I do that, my audience is like, boo, we hate you, Joe. Why can't your dad have his own channel without you, Joe?
I don't know. If they seem to be responding, because like Mark, I'm actually just trying to keep up with, because we do pictures and he'll be talking about somebody. So I'm like trying to serve up a picture or whatever. Oh yeah. And he's like Barnes, only with pop culture. I mean, it's a scary mind. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like, hell with it. I'm just a member of the audience. And that's the way I would treat it. It's like, if they're riffing and I see the chat going, oh, this is great. Oh, this is going on. It's like, well, you know what? I'll just let it go.
Let it go.
You know, let me take a break tonight. Let me go be like Viva or David. I mean, while Barnes is going, David's pulling up super chats constantly. And that's, another way to do it. It's like, okay, well, let me do some housekeeping here. Let me refresh the window for the 8,000th time. Am I there yet? Am I 1,000 yet? No, not yet. Okay, shoot. But I don't know. It's really, really, really hard to figure it out.
Yeah. Walking that line is impossible.
Yeah. So you just do the best you can, and then you figure some people are just looking to bitch. But you know what? If they comment, that feeds the algorithm.
That's right.
It's true.
That is true. There's no such thing as bad PR.
Exactly. What? I have a problem with who? With us? That's a cool logo.
I love when people comment in the live chat about stuff that we were talking about like an hour ago.
I've been looking at that. I'm a little bit confused because I'm wondering if maybe some of these are just late super chats that are showing up late. I don't know.
Well, they're not super chats, but
like 15 minutes ago, someone was talking about Dire Straits versus Rolling Stones, and I'm like, really? That was like the first 3 minutes of the stream we were talking about that, and now we're getting a whole Hobby Lobby thing.
Well, we're almost 2.5 hours in.
Yeah,
people are starting it at 1 or whatever. So what are you going to do? But good news.
They were on Kurt's time.
Exactly. So to promote everybody at the end here, we have Uncivil Law. No locals. Sucks. Unstructured.
Gonna get locals, right?
Legalbytes.locals.com.
I finally have one.
And Joe
finally,
doing the Barnes. Goodlawgic.locals.com. Hey,
I don't
worry, it
need
took
to
us a while
reinvent the grift. I can just mirror someone else's grift. Why would I reinvent it? It's so smart. Why shouldn't I put it right there? Right there. Everyone can see where to go.